first yet, like where so much stuff. You never know what's going to be here when we show up.
It's always a surprise.
I'd like to call to order the Middletown City Council meeting for Tuesday, August 2nd, 2022. We can start with a moment of meditation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. King, will you please call the roll for us?
Mr. Farrell.
Here.
Ms. Nenny.
Here.
Mr. Moon.
Here.
Mr. Muterspaw.
Here.
Mayor Condrey.
Here. Okay, this evening we're starting with a public hearing. I also want to mention if you are watching on YouTube and you haven't voted, you have till 7:30 p.m. So go put that on pause and come back to watching this. Go vote. There's also National Night Out going on tonight. So if you're not here in person and you're wanting to know what's going on, feel free to pause, go out, enjoy something, come back and watch it a little bit later tonight. So, all right, we're going to start with a public hearing. It's the Hill Plan Development Second Alternate Design. And do we have who will be presenting that? James, thank you.
Good evening, Council. Can we get the slide up, please? So tonight we have a request by applicant D.R. Horton for a preliminary development plan for a new subdivision, approximately 50 single-family homes. This site is currently zoned PI, public and institutional use. Planning Commission approved this at their March 9th, 2022 meeting with 3 modifications. This included a 75-foot buffer, ranch-style homes located on Florence Street, and that the homes be reviewed and approved by the ARB prior to submittal of the final development plan. This was the first site plan that was approved by Planning Commission with the 75-foot buffer, and this was the section that was included, the 75-foot buffer as well. This is the second site plan that was presented at the last City Council meeting. Public hearing included the homes on Florence. These are several of elevations that would be facing Florence. They're 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath. This is a new possible site plan that is being presented tonight. 44 homes with a variety of different lot sizes. The lot sizes on Florence would be a little bit larger, then it goes down to Sherman, which is a little bit smaller, and then 50-foot lot width on the interior. These would be the homes for interior and on Sherman Avenue. This was a photograph provided by D.R. Horton showing that there were homes on Sherman previously and one on Florence, including the old hospital. The review criteria for the preliminary development plan and zoning map amendment. Do you have any questions?
Do we have any specific questions from council?
Procedurally, I guess just as I was looking at the stipulations that Planning Commission set forth, I'm not sure how we'll decide to move forward, but if we decide to move forward with a plan other than the one that Planning Commission recommended, does that need to go back to Planning Commission to reapprove since it's not meeting their conditions? I'm just not sure how we do both.
It would still need to go back to Planning Commission regardless, whether you approve the first site plan, the second, or the third site plan. It would still need to go back to Planning Commission for approval for the final development plan.
And just to be clear, that's for final development plan approval. So This plan, preliminary plan, does not need to go back to Planning Commission.
Okay.
Council has the ability to modify the recommendation of Planning Commission.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that that was clear.
Yeah.
I'd be interested in hearing from the landowner or developer if they'd like to speak and add anything in before we open the public hearing. Would that advice to council? Great. If Rob, if you'd like to come on up, or whomever would like to. Welcome back.
Thank you. Mayor, council members, thank you. Good to see you again. Rob Smith with D.R. Horton. This is Nick Selhorst with Choice One Engineering. I thought I'd bring him up before the technical questions, anticipating any. It's been a little while since we spoke, so again, I mean it. I appreciate the opportunity to be here before you. So a lot of discussions have taken place with some of the local citizens, along with your staff, in order to try to continue to work together to get to a plan that is palatable to enough people to hopefully move forward. So we've really rolled up our sleeves and tried to get to where we think meets the mark closest to the concerns I've had, folks have had. I've said this before, it hasn't been easy because people with concerns, they don't speak with one voice. Everyone is an individual and has their individual thoughts and concerns, and one person's thoughts and concerns might not overlap with someone else's. So we have tried to take as much of the feedback as we can from a lot of different parties, and that's what we have today. What you have before you is 44 lots, down from our original proposal of 53. I think in talking with a lot of parties, again, not universal agreement on anything, but I think having homes on the two border streets, Florence and Sherman, makes a lot of sense. We're proposing quite large frontage lots on Florence. I think it kind of has the effect that we were trying to accomplish with the green space buffer. It serves as a buffer, just a buffer with homes, larger lots. These will be different plan. I've shown those. I think they're in the staff report. I know you've seen them. A little bit larger homes on larger lots serves as a pretty good, I think, buffer transition, call it what you will, into the rest of the development. I came across that picture that was shown. I don't know if that can be pulled up again.
You have the clicker right there.
Oh, they got it up.
I do.
Thing. Yeah, you can go forward and back if you like.
Very good. Thank you. I thought this was a fascinating aerial. I know everyone knows this used to be a hospital, but when this was first sent to me, I spent a few minutes trying to get my bearings because I saw the houses, and only after a while looking at it did I realize that is Sherman on the south. That is looking north, that there actually used to be homes on the north side of Sherman. I don't know when this photo is from, 70s, maybe the early 80s. And those houses were torn down at some point to expand the hospital. So I thought that was fascinating. So with homes on the west side, on Florence, it didn't seem to make sense to have that buffer on Sherman any longer. So that was the rationale for coming up with that. So you now have homes fronting on Florence and Sherman, larger lots. And at that point, since we're down to 44 lots, there's really just one cul-de-sac coming up from the south. I will go back to the plan here. One cul-de-sac coming up from the south, which navigates its way a little bit because it's steep, couldn't really go straight up. But that's the plan we've come up with that I think hopefully satisfies some of the concerns and can be seen as a good plan for this, not only this area, but the city of Middletown as a whole. So I'm glad to take any of your questions. Just want to say that we have and continue to try to negotiate, be good partners. We know how important this site is to you all, to the citizens of Middletown, and we don't take that lightly, and I'm just trying to be a good partner with the city. So I'm happy to answer any questions. Oh, I'm sorry, Mayor. Can I say one more thing? I didn't mean. I don't know if this has been brought up to you in internal staff meetings, but I did want to just state that in order to come down this low, we are asking for a waiver of the water and sewer tap fee, which normally comes with lots. That's a one-time fee typically paid. It's not economical otherwise. We really did need that 50-plus lots that we were hoping for, pushing for. So we are asking for that. That is just a one-time fee paid on each lot, which kind of alleviates the expensive development that comes with this site that I know we've gone over. We won't reiterate that unless you want me to. But we are requesting that coupled with the approval of this 44-lot PUD. So thank you.
Well, first of all, thank you guys for putting the effort in to come back with another design. I know that's a lot more work, you and the church both. I had a question about the open space. Do you have a plan for it? Is it sloped and that's why it's open, or what's the thought with the open space? It's over 3 acres, I think. Is that 3.3?
Yeah, in fact, we had more than that, but it was a little awkward because really you see the running north-south between the yellow lots on the west and the lots on the cul-de-sac. We had an open space there, and it was just awkward and unusable. We figured there would be natural lot creep, if you will. You see that happen. People, their lot may technically end here, but their trampoline and their play set sort of bridge that gap. So it seemed like an unnecessary component of the open space. So we expanded the depth of those lots. That's why I think those would be some fantastic lots on that cul-de-sac because they are so large. A family might love that for a bigger backyard. So I say that because our open space percentage could have been even higher, but it was just kind of unusable. We figured we might as well give that land to the residents. As far as the open space you see here, I think the area to the north, on the north side, would be pretty flat and could be usable. So we're open to ideas on that. We've also want to be good partners with the church. If they want to retain that, they're happy to do that. It's kind of their call. If they want to retain that land for themselves, then we would just, when this gets parceled off, we would just allow them to keep that. If not, it would go into the HOA. As far as the land by the retention pond, that will be fairly sloped. I'm not sure that's all that usable practically to put like a park or something like that. So I think it would largely be open space. I think we envision putting like a fountain in that pond as an attractive amenity as you're walking by. I think it would be attractive. But for that, I think it would just more be an aesthetic, nice open space coming down from some of the lots. We could even put, we don't show it here, but we could even plant some trees behind the lots that square off on that area to shield the houses a little bit. Yeah.
I assumed it had a slope to it, and that makes sense. And
Right.
the fountain would be really great. That would be another question I had for you.
Okay.
One actually seemingly maybe obscure, but safety issue I thought about was actually in the winter. If there is enough slope there that kids are sledding down that hill into a stormwater management area that has water, we might want to consider some sort of a safety issue so we don't have kids going into open water or half frozen water. So
Go down, up, and then
yeah, okay, yeah. I didn't know if you.
could be done, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess similarly, I was curious about that green space and the narrow piece of land that's retained there. I mean, I was curious if that was like maybe a sidewalk to walking paths or something. What was
I think that's meant for just an access point
Okay.
so it can be mowed and maintained.
Okay, that makes sense. And the width of the road that's proposed, because I know that was a question before about the road widths.
29 feet, the city standard.
Okay,
50-foot right-of-way, correct? Yeah, 50-foot right-of-way, city standard, 29-foot back of curb to back of curb, which is also city standard.
Are you planning to have any fencing on lots, or is that an owner decision to make?
I guess we could. Typically, we leave that up to the owner. We put it in the HOA. Oftentimes, we put a requirement that a standard type of fence. so that you're not allowed to put chain link fence or even a privacy fence. Usually we'll put a standard so that it can be kind of a consistent fence. If somebody puts up a fence, it kind of needs to be of a certain quality and aesthetic. And then if their neighbor in the next year puts up a fence, it needs to also follow the same. So it's not just a hodgepodge. We probably wouldn't put up the fences ourselves, but the home buyers are welcome to do so.
And then when it comes to an HOA and the actual teeth in it and execution, is that the HOA that enforces that, or is that on the city? I mean, the city obviously has its own ordinances, chain link, front yard fences, things like that. But the HOA would enforce its own rules and regulations. Is that?
Yeah, the HOA can't put in anything that goes against the city.
Right.
The city obviously is going to supersede anything in the HOA, but we can put something in the HOA that, like any HOA, it's as good as the residents who want to enforce it. So,
Okay, so it wouldn't be up to the city to enforce that. It would be the HOA and its residents.
if someone is a large nuisance, I'm sure you've probably had this from time to time. They might try to get the city involved, but from a practical day-to-day standpoint, it's up to the HOA. Yeah.
Do we have any HOAs in Middletown right now?
Condos and whatnot. I don't think we have any single-family HOAs, though. I mean, unless you count like Sawyer's Mill and Renaissance and those types of places.
Right. I was hoping, Paul, you might be able to speak to the EPA documents that you sent us for clarification.
All the information I've received from Burgess and Nyepel and those documentation is this is cleared all EPA test and is suitable for this type of development and digging into the soil.
Thank you. Any other questions from council? Okay, it sounds like we're ready for our public hearing.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, with that, I'd like to open the public hearing. If anyone wishes to speak in favor of the Hill Plan Development, second alternate design, I would ask you come up to the dais and state your name and address for the record. And to be clear, if you filled out these comment cards and you're wanting to speak about this topic, you just can come on up at any point. We won't call your name, and then you don't have to speak during the citizen comments if you choose to come up and speak now.
Hi there.
Hello.
Name and address?
Yes, please.
Jason Hunt, 109 Euclid Street.
Thank you.
Mayor, honorable members of council, fellow Middletonians gathered here. I think it's best to start this evening with where we agree. I've attended and heard about more than a few of these meetings, not just tonight. A common theme seems to be we're all pro-development. Anybody that gets up here will say that phrase. No matter what you think of the current proposal before us, we seem to all be aligned on using, I think it's this 17-acre piece of property to somehow benefit our city and brighten our future for those who may come to live here after us. What we may get hung up on is how to do that, and whether or not partnering with D.R. Horton, executing this proposed plan is the best way to do so. I would propose to you that it's not actually the best way to do so, but that's not a bad thing. As Frank Sinatra famously said, unfortunately, what's always true about the best is that it's yet to come. It probably won't ever actually arrive. Is what we're looking at today the best proposal for possible use of this land? No, it probably isn't. But I would contend that waiting for and debating about what would be the best proposal is worse than executing on something that's good. And what we have here indeed is good for a few facts that aren't really debatable. First, it gives Middletown something we don't currently have. I'm someone who wants to be in Middletown because I attend the Oaks. I enjoy significant community there because of that church. I want to stay, but what fits my family's preferences simply is not available here. Therefore, I have a lot reserved with my name on it in Springboro because I can build what's suitable for me up there. I would imagine that younger families are in a similar position, looking for an open floor plan, a move-in ready house without the issues of an older home, even despite maybe a lack of character. While the D.R. Horton designs may not be something you or I would want, it fits a generation of first or second home buyers and what they want. And currently, that's just not available in Middletown. Secondly, it increases all of our property values. Now, while it may not have the same look and charm of a home in the Highlands Historic District, new developments increase in attention and activity. They draw businesses, and they give opportunity for more disposable income to be spent within our city limits. As areas grow in popularity, so should property values. Recently, obviously, you can't tell, but so should they go. Lastly, it demonstrates compromise. The evolution of this proposal from the first time it was presented is significant. Now with 50 to 70 foot lots and a dedicated set of elevations along Florence to help ease the transition from a new development capturing demand in today's market to the timeless homes that are central to the historical fabric of this city is evident. So it's something we don't have. It'll raise our property values and tax for the city. And it takes into account the importance of the surrounding neighborhood. Those are all good. And even better, the proposal is available right now to start bettering our city and growing the potential for its future. Now, while we could certainly wait for something better, how long should we do so? What kind of opportunity cost are we willing to take on while we repeat this arduous process for whatever new ideas might come about? Let's be the agents that move good forward and aren't always captivated by what could be best, because it may always be yet to come.
Thank you very much. Do we have any other comments in favor of the proposal?
Mike Pruitt, 101 Euclid Street, right next door to Mr. Hunt. I didn't know you were coming here tonight. Mayor, members of council, thank you again for your consideration for this project, for all the time that you invest into trying to make our city better, whether it's parks or development or business-related matters, or thank you for picking up the branches from my street a couple weeks ago. That was greatly appreciated. That was a need that existed. There wasn't an infrastructure in place for Middletown to automatically do that, and it happened. So thank you for doing that. I think that type of action, when an opportunity presents itself, is exactly what we should be looking at here tonight. This plot of land was demolished 15 years ago, and it took the city a decade to find someone that was even remotely interested. When there was a party, the cardiology group that was in the building, they didn't want it. Nobody wanted it. The church took it over, came up with the idea of a park, and then the city asked them, I think there's better things we can do for it. Because if you go a couple blocks north, you have a park. You go a couple blocks east, you have a park. You go a couple blocks south, you have a park. We didn't need another one there. So this is a great opportunity that's before us tonight that I think, to Mr. Hunt's point, he used Frank Sinatra. I'm a fan of General Patton. A good plan violently executed today is better than a perfect one next week. And I think this is a really good plan for a lot of things. I don't want to debate the points of density. It's obviously substantially better than what it was when the hospital was there. There's a lot of minutia. But the end result is homes that don't exist. I've watched so many friends. I have had so many conversations with that man about not moving to Springboro because he lives next door and I love him as a neighbor. And this is the exact kind of development that keeps me from having those conversations, because I have lost dozens of friends that have moved to Franklin, to Monroe, to Westchester, to Mason, to Centerville, to Washington Township, everywhere, simply because this type of housing didn't exist. This is a really unique opportunity. I think it is very fair for the city. I think they have bent over backwards to try and accommodate everything for the historic district and everyone else around. And I'm fully in favor of moving forward with this plan as it exists, especially with the berm, because I promise you my girls are going to be sledding on that hill when the time comes in the winter. So thank you for your time and consideration. I cannot say strongly enough that you should support this for the vision that we have for the future of Middletown and the generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Brad Wilson. I live in 4716 Donham Drive. And I come from a different angle. First off, my apologies. I would like to thank the mayor and council for all your time and effort in these things. And I want to come from a different angle of not moving away from Middletown as a possibility, but moving to Middletown. I moved here a year ago. Actually, in June of this year was 1 year. And like 10 days later, we had a baby. It was just wild time. I want to stress to you that the market, and I know we have some real estate agents on council, so they know the market even better than I do. But I looked for over a year, starting hardcore in 2020, and then finally finding a place in the spring of 21. And I just want to express to you that for a home between that $300,000, $400,000 range, and with a beautiful space to host, to love people in your community and friendships, is very challenging to find. I have 3 daughters, and my wife and I own our own business. And it was extremely challenging because we moved here for the community, and I otherwise would have looked other places. And that actually was almost a reality. We almost moved outside of Middletown out of exhaustion from finding a place in the city that fit the needs and the vision that we had for our family. So I've been following this project. The idea of having properties available to tell my friends to say, hey, there's opportunity here. This is a great place. You can get a lot of house for your money here. You can build a family here, and you can do great things in the city. And that's only going to benefit when you get young families here, and they're looking for lots and places like this. So I thank you for your consideration and all your hard work. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Do we have any other comments in favor? I see some movement.
Evening, Council. Thank you for your time. Rob Chambers, 2025 Tullis Drive. Like many of the folks here, I am also a member of the Oaks Church, the current landowners of the property, the proposed Hill subdivision, and share a similar story with them. I am also a Middletown transplant. I'm not from here, but I've spent nearly half of my 35 years involved in this community in some aspect, whether in college volunteering in the schools or presenting at Midfest or working with planning director Marty Kohler at the time on the 3C rail project, if you remember that when that was a thing. And as a student, I spent so much time in the city. As an Oxford student, even, that I took more than half of my gen ed classes here because it just made sense. So upon graduation, the only logical thing to do was make this my permanent home. I was rooted here. This was my community. So 10 years later, as our family's growing, we've outgrown our starter home here in town. We're looking for somewhere to expand. And we had an unbelievably difficult time trying to find a home that would accommodate us. 2 young professionals, growing family. There's multiple beautiful homes in the city, but we did not have the upfront capital or the time to invest in one of these homes that, while they look great, they've got mechanical systems that haven't been touched in 30 years and windows that are original to the house. While I'm handy enough to tackle a lot of home projects, when you're young with a family, that's a deal breaker. We needed something turnkey, and that was something that just rarely existed. Just like you heard from several of the other speakers, we spent a considerable amount of time waiting and trying to find a home that fit our needs. And that's also something we need to keep in mind as a city, that that's one of the metrics a lot of businesses are looking for as they're trying to expand their industry. And their site selection process is what kind of talent's available, and if they're going to be bringing talent into the area, where are they going to live? Is prospective talent going to want to move here? Is there a place for them to move here? And so are we going to let an opportunity for, high-tech, modern corporate investment pass us by because we don't have that kind of housing here? Obviously, the homes that Horton proposed aren't an exact match for the neighborhood, and I appreciate their time and compromise and, council's time working together with them. But we also need to remember that in this market, we're going to be hard-pressed to find any construction of the caliber today. Whether it's in Oakwood or Bellbrook or communities like that, those kind of homes are still an outlier. They're still an anomaly, and they stand out. That's when they have homoramas. It's just not typical construction anywhere. And the just obscene wealth that we saw, 100 years ago when some of these houses were built just doesn't exist anymore. So, we can continue to cling to the past and hope that, something like that comes up, but we're missing opportunities now to, embrace the possibility of 44 new families to come in, to plant roots here, to spend their money here, to pay property taxes here, to encourage and draw other corporate investment here. If we look past this opportunity that's in front of us now. Thank you for your time, Council.
Thank you.
Hello. David Bender, 628 Da Vinci Drive. And I just wanted to say thanks to everyone who's spoken before me for also being relatively tall so the microphone's pointing in the right direction. I have lived in Middletown for going on 17 years now. I've owned 3 houses here. When I first moved here and I bought my first house, it was a fixer-upper for less than $100,000, and I had no money, but I had a whole lot of time for sweat equity. And I put a lot of work into that house. I met my wife here. We got married, we had kids, and we outgrew that house. We moved to another house over in the Sunset Park neighborhood. That house was really good to us. It was, at the time, not as hard to find a house that fit our needs. And that one was also relatively cheap, and we were able to put a little bit of money into it. As my life and my career progressed, and I had a whole bunch of kids, I've got 4 of them, and I can't fit them in any normal-sized vehicle. I needed to upsize yet again. I got really lucky that I found, and I looked for a long time, like all the stories you've heard here so far. I'm sure you know the story. It's the market. This was about 6 years ago, though, even before everything was so pinched and it was hard to find something that I wanted. And I got lucky. I found something off the market and was able to work a deal with my realtor and their realtor because they were going to list it, and we found a home. I'm happy to call Middletown home. I work at Procter & Gamble. I'm located down in Mason, and I talk to a whole bunch of professionals on a regular basis who are moving to the city because we're constantly hiring, not to Middletown, but to Cincinnati, to Mason, to other areas, and I'm constantly singing Middletown's praises. And I've been to their houses, and I'm telling them, guys, you're paying $600,000 for a townhouse, and you could have a house 3 times that size in Middletown for 3/4 of the price. That used to be true. It's tough now because, as you're well aware, it's not just us; it's everywhere. That's what the housing market is doing. I'm not unfamiliar with the need for housing, as I'm sure none of you are, with the master plan that came out several years ago, telling us that Middletown was going to need that. One of the reasons I'm not unaware of that is I was on the master plan steering committee a number of years ago and helped build that plan. I looked at the data. This is not a surprise that, whoops, there's no homes. This is a reality that every economist saw coming, every piece of data pointed towards, especially for our city. With all that being said, what I would implore you guys to do is to realize that what we have in front of us is an opportunity to do what's good for the city. And so the thought that I would love to leave you with, everyone said no plan is perfect, but I do think we have an opportunity here to do what's best for Middletown. In this room is a small representative of the community. There are some people who are in favor of this. There are some people who are against it. What I would implore you as you go to vote and as you think about this is to think about the thousands of people that you represent and the thousands of people who voted for you, who live in this city, who will vote again, who want housing, who want opportunities for families to move here, who want to be able to invite coworkers to say, this is a great place to live, come live here. That's a great bedroom community, regardless of where you work. I think to turn away from an opportunity like this, and I mean this with all respect and hopefully with no vitriol or pressure, I think to turn away from an opportunity like this is to do a disservice to the folks who you all represent, who, for the sake of Middletown, to generate tax dollars, to generate homes for a place that very, very clearly needs it, that shouldn't be up for debate. I would implore you to vote for those citizens and to give this plan a shot. Thanks.
Thank you. Do we have any other comments in favor of the proposal?
Matt Salyer, 131 Eaton Drive, and thanks for your time. Sorry for how much time this thing has taken from all of you, and I hope you're well, by the way.
Thank you.
catch up with you at some point. As typical, I've been up here a few times. I traffic more in theology and philosophy than in political rhetoric, and certainly in development. So, and I have a little bit of a different perspective in the sense that I come in here tonight because I just got done I take July as a study break, a sabbatical study break every year, every summer. Get out of teaching, get out of public speaking, get out of all of it, and get away, spend time with my wife and my kids, and I study. And in that time, I've had time to reflect and been thinking a lot about this project. And so there's a few things I want to say about it, as it might potentially be our last opportunity to speak on it. One of the things that I always bring out in front of me during my time in July as I kind of get away and reflect is I look at Psalm 90. It's a prayer of Moses, and yeah, I'm a preacher, so I'm going to just a little bit of Bible, allow me a little bit of Bible. But in that prayer, he says, teach us to number our days so that we might gain a heart of wisdom. It's what I go to every single summer. It resets my year. So it's very helpful for me, and I've been using that and thinking about that in terms of this project, because there's a lot of wisdom that comes from thinking about the fragility and the brevity of life. And so there's two lessons that I think I want to press into not just you guys, but even everybody sitting in here and anyone that has an opinion about this project. And I speak, obviously, as a pastor at the church, on behalf of the church. I worry about the reputation of the church, and I worry about the mission and how people interpret what we're attempting to do. And so here's a couple of the lessons. One, as I think about that, numbering your days, one thing is this. The proposal that we've brought forward to you guys, it shouldn't, if you've got the brevity of your life in your mind, it should not cause the division that it has caused. And it should not cause the amount of anxiety that it has caused in this town. The other lesson that I feel like I've taken away from this is that a project like this will outlive us. It will outlive me, it will outlive you, it will outlive everybody in this room. And the reality is, when I think about it, what do I want to exist when I'm gone? A field of grass or opportunities for families to break in and have an opportunity in this town? And it's saddened me in some respects because as I look out, I'm 40 years old and I've lived in this town my whole life. And I wonder who is still here that is looking out for the next generation. I was talking to my dad the other day, and he said, you seem really stressed about this project. I'm like, yeah, shocker. But, he said to me, the thing about these kinds of situations is that people should be warned and reminded that they should be less worried about the next election and more worried about the next generation. And to be fair to you guys, I actually don't pick up any vibe from you that you care that much about the next election. But I do wonder, for a lot of us Middletonians, do we care that much about the next generation? Do we care about what our kids are getting? Because I think some people actually don't care about our kids and what they're going to inherit. I think a lot of people care about their backyards. I think a lot of people care about what's happening next week or next month, next year, but I don't know if people actually care about what's going to happen in 10 years and 20 years and 30 years from now. And things are different and things are changed, and this town is not what it was when I was here, but it is not from wisdom that we long for the former days, Ecclesiastes 7:10. We obsess in this town over what it used to be, and it's not that anymore. And so, as a 40-year-old, I have, the thing about getting older is you realize there's so much still you need to learn, and I'm realizing that. And I'm one that wants to learn a lot. I need to learn a lot as a leader, as a pastor, as a dad, as a husband. And I'm looking for elders and for leaders to say, hey, these are people I can learn from. And it's been a struggle in this town. It's been a real struggle. And it's a struggle because I don't know if people actually are thinking about those at the bottom and those that are kids and those that are coming up and what will they inherit and what will they get. And as for me and the community that I'm trying to help lead and the people that do a ton of work at the church, these are people that actually care about this community. They do a lot of really good work. Just to give you a few numbers, and we're not even all the way through the year, because of people, I've heard a couple comments along the way about the money, like this is about, to some extent, it is about money. Money that doesn't buy cars. It doesn't buy a bigger house for me. This serves people in our community. To date, our church has served 9,000 families. 9,000. To date, we're not even fully through the year. Our church has given out 78,570 meals to people. This is where this money goes. This is what we do with it. We pour it into kids. We pour it into sick people. We pour it into people that are alone and by themselves, and we give them hope. That's what we're trying to accomplish. If it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit. But it is my conviction that I want people to understand what they're saying no to. They are saying no to opportunities like that, to people that will be here beyond us, an institution that will outlive me, Lord willing, and it will continue to do really good work. And I believe in that work. If it's not this project, that's fine. We'll keep doing our work, and we will support you guys. We will be at peace with you. I've spoken to most of you. It will be fine. We'll continue to serve. But it would be great to have some people on our side that actually are trying to support us. Thank you so much. I hope you're done with this soon. I hope you can move on. Have a good evening.
Thank you. And I want to genuinely thank you, Matt, and your church for all that you do for the community. From the bottom of my heart, completely aside from this entire situation. So thank you very much. Do we have anyone else who wants to speak in favor of the proposal?
Hey, how are you? That's awful going after a pastor who's used to doing this and brings out the Bible. I'm not a pastor. I'm not going to bring out the Bible. But my name's Jonathan Krockenfels. I live at 116 Eaton Drive. And like I said, I'm not a pastor. I'm a business owner, an investor, real estate developer, an advisor to companies here in Ohio and Columbus, or Dayton and Columbus. I've been through just one other meeting and heard comments, just generally speaking, about possibly experience in real estate. I can only speak on my own experience, and for experience that I have personally right now, I think it at least matters to be able to speak into supporting this project is I'm primarily a commercial real estate developer, so one of the projects I'm working on right now in Columbus is a mixed-use development. It has 300 apartment units, 200 adult living units, 65,000 square foot corporate headquarters, and then with that has a retail strip center. And then outside of that project is a 200-unit multifamily project on the east side of Columbus. And then outside of that project, I'm working with an NHL hockey team to build a training center for their AAA team. And then a single-family home development that's very similar to this one. It's 15 acres, and but it's not in this area. It's, again, on the east side of the state. So, again, I can't speak on others' experiences, but I can speak specifically from a real estate developer, from my real estate experience, and also living directly next to this development, is that a company like D.R. Horton coming into town, again, another comment previously made by somebody was that they had some negative remarks online. Well, they're the largest real estate developer, I think, for single-family homes in the United States. So they probably are going to have some negative reviews out there, but they're also going to have some positive reviews out there. And to try and come up and say something negative about someone like them coming into our community, into Middletown, to build homes at market, and to be able to drive taxes to the community, I think would be a mistake to not allow that to happen. Even if you look at the city of Middletown, I think Moody came in 2018 and lowered the investment rating of the city of Middletown. Specifically, they gave 2 reasons, and one of those was a lower tax base. And so to take away the tax base of what will come here on property taxes with however many, 40, 50 single-family homes here in the area, that will drive jobs, that will drive more employees into the area. So different revenues that can be produced from it. I probably won't like more people in the line in the McDonald's here in Middletown because it's like the slowest one in the state of Ohio. But outside of that, I appreciate what they are doing here. And truly, as someone who works in real estate, is a business owner, who invests in real estate, I know the risk that a company takes to be able to do that. And they've done a lot of work to make this livable, manageable, affordable, and one that the community can get behind. We've had people who were against it who are now in support of it, and we appreciate that a ton. And the last thing I would say is that I'm not a Middletonian. I didn't grow up here. I'm also 40 years old, like that old guy back there. But I moved to Middletown because of the Oaks. So when my wife and I got married, we lived in Centerville and Springboro, and we moved to Middletown, and I drive an hour and a half each way to work on my projects to get back to Middletown, where my kids are, my family is, and the whole point of it is what we call the Oaks. So I will bring out a Bible verse. Isaiah 61 says we're the Oaks of righteousness. We're designed to rebuild walls, rebuild the cities. And so it's not convenient to drive 3 hours a day when it costs $35 a day in gas prices to get here and there. But we see what can be done here in the community, and there are many, many people here who, and they might not even care about this project, but they do care about Middletown. And as a result of that, I would just say that I also appreciate each and every one of you as mayor and council, and from the Planning and Zoning Commission and all the different entities that have to come together to make this thing happen. And I hope you'd be able to support it as a way that could help drive not only more revenue, but more good people to a community that needs it. So thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for making that long commute each day. Do we have any other individuals who would like to speak in favor of the proposal? Okay, so, nope, you just spoke. Okay, seeing no further movement, we will then open the dais up for anyone who would like to speak in opposition. So we got a couple people moving.
Mundo.
I'm Teresa Drum, 408 Florence Street. I live directly across from the wall. I know that you said that it passed EPA test, correct? In 2008, a builder by the name of Courtney Duff, he was in the process of purchasing it for development, and he chose not to because the EPA had shown that the land could not meet their standards. And that was from her conversations that he had with his daughter, Tammy Miller, which she related to me. So when I bought my home, I was told that nobody can ever build on it because it's contaminated. So what happened between 2008 and 2022? What happened? Why can't we see those reports about what's in there? When you start digging in that big hill, you know, that's my concern. And, you know I wouldn't build on it. There's no way I would buy a lot there with the 3 letters that I have received from my neighbor that he has, sent out to us and to you, Mayor, about all these contaminants that is in there. So we get all this stirring up. And then I talked to someone else, and if it's got asbestos in it, You know, the only thing it's good for is a parking lot or a park. You don't want to get in there and start digging up stuff. That's my concern more than anything, is the safety of, you know, families and children. Well, there's no way I would go and build on that lot knowing what's in there. And who's telling the truth when you see all these papers that you're getting in the mail about the dangerous soil contamination? So, was all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Paul, can those go public?
Yeah, you can go on the EPA websites and get all the reports.
The ones that you emailed us.
What I emailed you came from the contractors that did some of the work for the EPA. Okay. Burgess and Nyepel.
All right, makes sense.
Jeff Michelle, 200 Florence Street. I live kind of close to the project going on. I think I never have come up here yet because I didn't want to reiterate what everybody else is saying, so I'm going to just touch on some of those things. One is I am in the landscape design business. I see this stuff every day. Personally, I couldn't move into it because I just can't live that tight. There is a nice buffer where I live. Behind me, there's 5 houses. We're all pretty buffered between each other. We moved here because of the architectural style, the character of the home, the character of the neighborhood. We drove all around the town. We drove all around the area, Cincinnati, all the way to Dayton, and we landed here because of the houses and the character. This doesn't have character to me. It's America's new version of architecture, which is slam a bunch of houses on small lots, and it'll work, and everybody will come. My concern is also, we're saying price points on these houses, but then the market's going where the market's going, so if that's a $480,000 house or $450 across from me, what if they can't sell that? Is there anything that can go back on them to say, no, you have to sell it for $450 or above? And I don't think there is, right? So then we can start selling them for whatever we want. And if I'm wrong, I mean, tell me, because I don't know. But what stops somebody from building a lesser quality or lesser cost house up there? I don't know. It was brought up a meeting or two ago, drainage. I've been on a few sites lately. I know there's a lot of rain this spring. I've been on new home sites. There is flooding everywhere. And I'm talking brand new sites with good drainage and all. There's flooding everywhere. What is this going to do to the neighborhood? And I am downstream from this project, so that is a concern to me. I've had flooding coming from the basement up when we've had rain, and it has not happened since Sunset went in. I hope it's been fixed because of that. The HOA, who's going to run that and make sure that that stays intact? What if they just decide they're not going to do an HOA, and then the fences can be whatever they want to be, and the dogs can run wherever they want? What's the guidance there? If the city's not going to police that, how are we going to watch that? I think that's a concern. So when it boils down, I think this is a wonderful project for a cornfield out by the highway. I don't think it's a great infill project. There seems to be an urgency, like we've got to build it. We're going to miss this great opportunity. Maybe we are going to miss this opportunity, but it's the first opportunity. Maybe it's not the greatest. A couple of people came up in favor and said it's maybe not the greatest project. Why is this first project the only project that we have to go with? And it seems so urgent, like this is it. If we don't get this one, boy, nobody else will come in here. I think D.R. Horton has tried, but I feel that the problem has been there's a trust issue. This has dragged out way too long. You guys we shouldn't even still be here. This should have been voted on already. But yet we're still dragging this on, trying to, make the neighborhood go for it and everything. And then they've done some things, but we've asked for more, and we don't have that project, that product here. I think that if in the very beginning, the church, the builder, and a couple of us could have got together. I've never been to one meeting. I've never been invited to one meeting for the church and the builder. I think we could have ironed this out on the front end because we are very pro-building. I don't know anybody in my neighborhood that's not pro-building. We're not pro-building this, and we're not We just didn't have a say on the front end to help this whole project out. And I think that's a lesson that we should learn as a city and council and the people that work at the city. I think the people of this town want to be more engaged in what happens in these bigger projects. And yeah, it's in my backyard, but you know, we've had people come from all over town and say they're not really into this. So it's all I got to say. I appreciate your time. You guys are really putting a lot of time into this, but I feel terrible that it's had to go this long.
Thank you. Anyone else is welcome to come up.
Thank you, sir. My name is Jim Pierce, and I live at 2800 Superior Avenue at the corner, the old David Finkelman estate. Some of you might know the house from the pink flowers in the fountain. If you know, I sent you an email and asked you before this meeting if you would please go to the Highlands Historical District website, look at the history, look at the architecture, look at the people that settled it, look at the people that lived there, look at the people and how much money they've invested to continue the houses to perfect shape. I know the gentleman that just spoke before us. He's remodeling his whole house currently. I bought the Finkelman house. I paid $300,000 for it. I've stuck $200,000 in the house to upgrade it, to bring it to the style and condition that David Finkelman made it. And I was born across the street. I was born in that hospital. My mother and father met each other in Middletown and were married. My father was killed in the Second World War. He's in our cemetery here in Middletown. So I'm not a Johnny-come-lately. I have roots in this place. And I would really like for you to think, some of you, I notice, have been here your whole life, or at least most of your life, What do you think of when you think the Alameda? What do you think of when you think the Alameda Circle? What are your memories? What is your history? If it's like mine, it was a special place, a very special place. And I want it to stay a special place. I have no compunctions about D.R. Horton wanting to build there. That's fine, okay? It's their right to build. But I want to talk about your rules. That's what I want to talk about. Not my rules, not what I want. I want to talk about the city rules. And I understand you guys have a difficult position. You really do. You have kind of like a two-headed monster to feed. You had the monster to feed of people like me, okay? You have the monster to feed of the city, to grow it, to make it prosper. Sometimes those lines just won't cross. And I see that you're in that position right now. So concerning reading the proposed development for D.R. Horton, single-family detached unit housing may be appropriate for this property and in keeping with the surrounding neighborhood. But we do not believe that D.R. Horton's plan is acceptable. The intro paragraph to the Middletown Development Code, and I told you I was going to talk about your rules, not my rules, okay? The introduction paragraph to the Middletown Development Code 1202.01 says, in essence, a couple of things that apply here. Item number C, to preserve and enhance the character and quality of neighborhoods. To establish, item D, to establish appropriate development density and intensity to prevent or reduce congestion. To protect residential, commercial, office, and industrial areas alike from harmful encroachment by incompatible uses, and to use that land allocated to a class of uses shall not be usurped by inappropriate uses. Okay, let's break that down. Let's go back to C, density and intensity, okay? My numbers may be off by 10%. I don't have exact numbers, but I'm pretty darn close. Houses should be comparable to the Highlands Historical District. In the Highlands Historical District, the average lot size is 21,500 square feet. D.R. Horton's average is 7,500 square feet. The residential size, the average residential size in the Highlands Historical District is 2,492 square feet. And D.R. Horton's average is approximately 1,700 square feet. For the purposes of comparison, the insured replacement cost of the 4 houses facing Florence Avenue is approximately $2,600,000. That's directly facing this project. And the approximate market value is $1,930,000 for those 4 houses. And now I'm going to tell you what I think. Those are your rules, not mine. A key purpose of government planning and zoning rules is to protect current homeowners. While allowing careful, measured growth, there must be a balance. The D.R. Horton proposal goes too far in that it undermines the decades of care and investment of existing homeowners. The plan undermines the character of the existing neighborhood in the aspect of quality and quantity. The city's efforts to attract new builders, new residents, should not be at the expense of existing homeowners who are already working, living, raising a family, and building up and maintaining our community. This plan neither preserves nor enhances the character and quality of our neighborhood. The subject and now I'm going to talk to you about an opinion, okay? The subject PU request by D.R. Horton includes 10 possible zoning violations and 10 possible engineering architectural violations of the Middletown codes. And if Planning Commission approves the PU and passes it on to council for a vote, the 20 possible violations of the zoning and engineering and architectural codes will also be approved. What kind of houses do you expect you're going to get? And I list all the things that I think are violations in your book, and there are 20 of them. In the last this is a question. A question. In the last meeting about this issue, y'all took a break, okay? And in that break, the city manager talked with D.R. Horton and told them to pull their proposal off the agenda because they didn't have the vote. D.R. Horton came in and pulled it off the agenda, okay? And in the last 2 months, the city manager And again, I understand the two-headed monster, city and people, okay? The city manager has been in negotiations with D.R. Horton and has offered them, I'm told, he's offered them concessions and incentives to build their subdivision. Do you know what that makes us feel like, the people that are talking to you about this? It's like, what the heck are we even doing here? Why do you even ask us to talk to you? You're negotiating all the time to make it happen. It just seems so wrong. Maybe I don't understand politics, but that seems so wrong. I repeat, please, a key purpose of government planning and zoning rules is to protect current homeowners while allowing careful, measured growth. There must be a balance. The D.R. Horton proposal goes too far in that it undermines the decades of care and investment of existing homeowners. The plan undermines the character of the existing neighborhood in the aspect of quality and quantity. The city's effort to attract new builders and new residents should not be at the expense of existing homeowners who are already working, living, raising a family, building up and maintaining our community. This plan neither preserves nor enhances the character of the quality of our neighborhood. I encourage you to go to the internet, and now here's just do that as time goes by. I did it and I was amazed. Go to the internet and search D.R. Horton lawsuits. Pages and pages. I don't know if that reflects on these people or not, but their name is D.R. Horton. So that's my pitch. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else who would like to speak in opposition to the proposal?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. And I'm wearing sunglasses because I left my reading glasses at home and their prescription. So it's not to look cool. It's I can't. I did prepare some notes tonight. So I want to be able to read. It's good to see you again.
Can you state your name and address for the record? Because I'm actually not sure.
Chris Lacey. I live at 142 Euclid Street.
Thank you.
And I actually live in Euclid Heights. So the first bullet point I had was to kind of to dispel some misinformation about this entire project. And as Mr. Pierce said, he lives in the Highlands Historical District, and I'm a lifelong Middletown resident other than when I lived in Chicago, and I moved back because I missed it, and I'm a lifelong Middie. But I think this project encompasses two adversarial roles, one being D.R. Horton and the church, and the Highlands Historical District, which everybody, I get the sense that everybody thinks, well, it's these rich people that have these really nice houses. So I live in Euclid Heights. I don't live in the Highlands Historical District. And there's a number of different districts that kind of, swirl around this parcel. But there isn't anybody that I know in the neighborhood, Euclid Heights, Highlands Historical District, Wildwood, you name it. I haven't met one person that is anti-developing this piece of property. Not one. So for anybody to say, oh, we don't want to do anything with this, we just want to sit there and we want to be these old curmudgeons, nothing could be further from the truth. We want the right plan, and we want to think big, and we want to think bold, which Middletown has not done in quite some time. We all have a number of different boondoggles over the years that we all know. I call it the shiny penny. Oh boy, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread, so we need to do it, rather than think about the ramifications. So I definitely want to dispel that. I also want to state on the record that I go to the Oaks Church, and several of my friends at the church are here tonight. And I was at church on Sunday, and well, pray for me as the black sheep. But it was actually preached from the pulpit that those of us that are in opposition of this plan are just angry people, which my wife and I looked at each other, and I was shocked that those words were uttered. I can assure you, as a Black Irish Cherokee person, if anybody saw me being angry, I can assure you would see it. This is not about being angry. This is about what everybody's passionate about, and this is about what is the best plan, not just for the church, not just for the immediate neighborhood. It's about what's best for Middletown, and that should not be lost. I went with my granddaughter Sunday morning, and we walked the neighborhood as we've done, and I've done since I was a little kid. And as I'm walking down Orchard, getting ready to turn on Florence, I looked up at that beautiful hill, and I thought, it was 52, then it was 50, and now it's 44. And when you're down on the Sherman Street and you look up at the hill, how do you get 44 homes in that parcel? I'm not a fan of the density. I've stated that before, but kudos to D.R. Horton for paring back the number, although several meetings ago they said that it would never be able to go below 50, but they did do a concession, and you know what, you ought to pay respect where respect is due. The biggest issue, and I don't know if I'm going to do this right, if I can go back, whoops. Where's the one with the parking garage? Yeah, I'm sure I'll screw this up.
I'm sure some people are hoping to go to the end of the meeting slides, but
sorry. Well, I just find it ironic, and again, I'm in sales myself. I don't know how old this picture is, but this is a really old picture because it doesn't show a new wing of the hospital where all of those homes were removed. Now, I know why D.R. Horton chose this picture is because they want to show you how that there's more houses that you can compress into this very tight parcel. But that's a really old picture, number one. And number two, my biggest beef with the new proposal, like the proposal before that and the proposal before that, is you'll notice there's a great big parking garage up there in the upper left-hand corner. So 44 homes, let's say there's 3-4 cars per home. Where are all those homes going to park, or homes, excuse me, not homes. Where are all those cars going to park on this street? There's not enough room. There's not enough parking. That is my biggest beef now with this revised plan. The parking is just not going to fly. It's going to be an HOA. Well, what do you get for an HOA if you buy one of these homes? Do you get a pool? No. Do you get a clubhouse? No. What do you get? I got major issues with that. And most HOA communities, like a proposal like this, you would have a parking lot for when you have guests. What if you have a party? What if you have a Super Bowl party, a birthday party? That's separate from the 132 to 176 cars. So the parking is just atrocious in my view. The current economics, we all know that story. Interest rates going up. How are these homes going to appraise? How are they going to appraise? Building costs are going up. The only way, in my view, that D.R. Horton's going to be able to make this fly, if it passes, and I staunchly hope it doesn't, they're going to have to cut on their building materials. And I was told in church from the pulpit that the homes are not going to have vinyl siding. They're going to be hardy board. Well, if I can find the picture, I see hardy board over the garage area, but what's on the side of the homes? What's on the rest of the fascia? It looks like vinyl to me. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But I can tell you, walking with my granddaughter this past Sunday, I walked all throughout the neighborhood, and you could go up to Highview, to East Line, Jackson Lane, Dorset, Kensington, Eaton, Euclid, Florence, Alameda, Stanley. Find me a home that has hardy board on it, as opposed to real quality construction products. It's not just about the Highlands. It's about the architectural design and the quality building materials throughout the neighborhood for blocks and blocks. It's not just about the Highland Street. I know that this is a PUD, it's a planned unit development that we're trying to push for, coming away from, zone for commercial to residential. So what's to say that D.R. Horton, after this is proposed, interest rates continue to go up, which they are going to do, building materials are going to continue to go up, and then they say they want variances. So whatever they're proposing here, why is it not being what they're pitching to us? What guarantee do we have? The answer is we don't have a guarantee. Let's see. Lastly, I encourage you to vote no, and I honestly think that we can work together as a collective, and I think that we should scrap this idea because it's just a shiny penny in my view, and I think that we should start the process over again. We have a new mayor, we have new council, and we should start the project from the beginning, and we should work together with the builder, whether it's D.R. Horton or whomever it is. We should work in concert with the church, because I will tell you, there has not been community outreach on this. There's not been good communication. There hasn't been. That's, again, I think what has some of the people skeptical. So I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Could I say one more thing?
You're welcome to come up to the dais and speak. It's a public hearing. You have to come back up and state your name and address for the record for us. I'm not sure. I may just
Jim
give your name
Pierce,
and address. Thank you.
2800 Superior Avenue.
Thank you.
Okay. My background and Barbara's background, we are project managers for large developers. Barbara and I have brought over 3,000 houses on market, okay? We have brought schools on market, firehouses on market, going through all the zoning and planning process, be it federal or state or local. And so we have a lot of experience in that. And I didn't know this thing was here. Okay. That's not the one. That's not the one. No. Okay, that one right there. Okay, you see where the outlet is? Okay, going on to Sherman Avenue. I looked at the traffic study. I'm not a traffic study person, okay, but I'm somewhat familiar with it. And what this traffic study says, and I encourage you to go look at it, I think what it says is that once it's built out completely, there's 570 trips that are going to go through Sherman and Orchard and Florence to get out of there. You take a look at it, please, because it's important. 570. And I think you can talk with Nathan Cahill, and he will confirm that. So, thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else who would like to speak in opposition to the plan? We've got someone moving already. I think we have somebody on his way.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Council. My name is Steve West, and I'm at 529 Euclid, which is close to the Grand side. So I guess I'm kind of in the Euclid ghetto. But, quickly. Mr. Lawley, congratulations on not retiring, I guess. Is
30 seconds, but
anyway, I bought my house 2005. I was like 23. I moved here from San Diego. Don't ask why, but I moved here from San Diego 2005. Been here 17 and a half years. That's how I met Paul. His father lived across the street. Frank was a good man. Anyway, so obviously back then the hospital was bustling. Traffic, there's lots of ways in and out. The old stoplight on Central was up and running then. Hospital was a great neighbor for us. Even hearing the helicopters about 70 feet above your roof about 3 in the morning, still loved it. I've heard a lot of different things. I have not looked at the EPA study. I do have a degree in environmental science. I didn't know if it was published yet or not. I need to read up on that. But from the old burn pit, obviously that's a concern. We unearthed something. I don't know how close they did their core samples, but our properties could be worth about $10 if something bad were to happen. But anyway, I haven't looked at that report, self-admit. My concern with this project is a few different things. I think Jeff Michelle had said it's sort of a trust issue. I buy into that. I didn't hear about this project until right before Planning Commission voted on it. I think the last time I spoke on this was at Planning Commission, the night that they voted. But I have a trust issue with it. A lot of us were not in the know until the initial plan was before Planning Commission. I was surprised at the density. I do appreciate D.R. Horton's scaling this back to 44, 45, whatever the current number is. But I have issues with a couple of different things. Professionally, I work in federal acquisitions specifically for Department of Defense, and we write contracts, we do pricing, scheduling, all those things. Whenever we look at standing something up similar to this in the federal space, having a single bid proposal is a red flag. Now, D.R. Horton is obviously the biggest builder here in the country, so we would expect to see, the negative reviews online. Yeah, you could probably find them on the world's slowest McDonald's on Brill, as we've heard about tonight. But that was a second red flag. We have entire communities in the South, states, down in large-scale developments down in Louisiana, where people have been in their homes for a year or two, and they can't even get homeowners insurance. So that's kind of, and there's multiple of them. That's a concern. So I question sort of the quality, which comes with a lot of other builders that we know in this area. So I'm not saying, D.R. Horton is obviously, the worst. I wouldn't say that. The other thing that concerns me is just, and I understand the church's mission, and I understand the congregation supporting this. We respect the church. We appreciate what they do for our community. We're obviously blessed to have them in our community and close to our homes. They've been a great neighbor. But the concern that I have is sort of the validity of this entire thing. What they're proposing here, there's not really any guarantees. What we're seeing in the market is not what we've heard tonight. The market's actually scaling back. And it's not me saying it. It's D.R. Horton saying it. July 21st, 2022, Bloomberg article. If you Google it, D.R. Horton self-admits, because they own their own mortgage company, that the amount of homes they are building is superseding the amount of buyers they fully expected. So my concern is, and we're talking about markets much larger than Middletown, much, much larger. And this is all data that's pulled across the U.S. So we're talking about markets that are even stronger than what we've seen in Middletown. What we've seen in Middletown the last couple of years, in my opinion, I wish I was a realtor. It's special. But when we look at sort of the national trend, it's concerning. I personally believe with the cost of materials, put everything together, I don't think we'll ever see this. I think what we'll see is maybe phase one, and then $450,000 homes with an HOA fee, you're not going to get it. And I don't believe this will increase our property values one penny. Because if I even believe that, you know, whether it was 60 homes or 20 homes, I'd be all for it. Heck yeah, increase my property value. I went through the recession here. I lost a lot of money on my home, but I kept it and I kept investing in it. But I don't believe we'll ever see this at all. I truly don't. You know, the last time we had a recession, there was another builder in this town. He was on council at the time, and he had a lot of developments like this, and they were about half completed. And I know this because I went and helped him clear his tools out the last couple homes when he was getting rid of it. So everything that I'm seeing in national trends, even self-admitted by D.R. Horton in a Bloomberg article, not from last year, not from 6 months ago, July 21st, 2022, and I can send everybody the link. They're self-admitting that things are changing. So this concerns me. If we get a half-built lot, what's that going to do? Sure not going to help our property values. I don't think if it was ever fully built, it would help our property values. But those are my concerns. Single bid proposal, D.R. Horton, and looking at the market trend right now. But I do appreciate their flexibility and obviously the church's flexibility to make some concessions and renegotiate. Because I was there during the Planning Commission when they said, no, 50 is our number. The only other thing that's sort of a red flag in my mind is if they're stating now that if they do not get the sewer and water tap fees waived, it may not be financially viable. Already there's a red flag. So it's hinging on a fraction of an entire project. That to me is a red flag as well. So we're talking about things being so tight as it is, and we're on the brink of a recession. And looking at inflation, I don't believe this proposal at all, because I don't know, there's not many guarantees. Not enough guarantees for me to be comfortable and say, hey, let's go on ahead and move forward with it. That's all I had. Thank you guys for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Do you have anyone else who'd like to speak in opposition?
Andy Brickler, 301 The Alameda. Long journey. Looked at emails. Do you know when this started? A strategic planning session in early 2021. It's when I heard about it for the first time. Fast forward to March 18th. That's when we found out in the Journal, I believe, had some comments about that meeting, and we heard about D.R. Horton. The reason I bring this up is it's a journey. We've been through this journey. We're here. My question is, why has there been no community outreach? I appreciate the church personally asking me to have meetings with them. It's made me public enemy number one. At the last meeting, they were kind of joking around saying, hey, I don't like being public enemy number one. That's me. I'm the president of the Highlands Historic District. I enjoy that role. I do this as a volunteer, and I'm getting a lot of people angry over a project because I've asked the city, I've asked the D.R. Horton, and I asked the community, Oaks Community Church, to do community outreach. Share this. Why is the Highlands having to share this on our Facebook page? And I'm being Switzerland in it. I'm trying to be as neutral as possible, not saying I'm for it or against it when I post this stuff, because I don't want to sway someone's opinion. Let them form their own opinion. But why do I have to do that? Why did the Oaks Community Church do it? The other thing that's kind of interesting, and again, I'm not trying to be negative towards it, but it's facts. The fact that we have great opposition tonight for people supporting it, where have they been? This journey's been going on since last January. Find out, they asked at their sermon on Sunday, just come speak, be in favor for it. Do these people even understand the full thing of it? They got a PowerPoint pitch and understood it. Do they know that the negotiations, the conversations Rob and I've had, and all these they know all the facts before they get up here and speak?
Next thing is, and again, some of these points have been hit, the market. We can say it's doing what it's doing. Just look. I'm not going to say it's going up, going down. It's doing something. D.R. Horton's Q2 earnings report. Dug a little deeper in that. Someone mentioned the Bloomberg report. They've actually dropped their forecast for the end of the year of homes that are being built. I'm not saying it's this homes. It's facts. The other one is $480,000 is what I've heard for those 9 homes. It's a lot of money. We got houses, some houses on the east end selling for $550. What's going to make someone come into the middle of an infill lot and spend that kind of money? I would love it. I mean, hey, if these properties and they really do sell and they make everybody's property go up, I think everybody here would be excited. The other thing is, I don't think those 9 homes will ever be built. I think we put it as a PD, throw the zoning out, get rid of it. Why are we even showing that map? They can do whatever they want. They got to go get variances and all this, right? It's the process. So why don't we make it R3? Then you got to follow zoning. What do these houses look like in 5-10 years? Not saying it's bad quality today. How they hold up. D.R. Horton, Rob Smith from D.R. Horton has mentioned many times that they have really great vinyl siding, top quality vinyl siding. I've never seen it. He talks about it. We talk about Hardy Plank. Hardy Plank's got to be repainted roughly. I think the warranty he mentioned to us is 20-year warranty. So every 20 years, people are going to be painting these houses. It's maintenance. Not saying people aren't going to do it. These are just things to think about. Someone mentioned next generation equality, or next generation of Middletown. These houses going to last that long? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. What's the maintenance record? How do people maintain it when they're spending, they're going to become house poor at $480,000 with an HOA where you get no benefits? And at the end, the thing I'll say is this project has gone through a really unique process to get here today. We can argue who's right and who's wrong, but I do think we got to take this as lessons learned, whatever the outcome is. We've got to do more community outreach and share this. And I challenge the city now that we are giving tap fees, now the city's involved in this project. So I was told early on the city can't do anything, can't share this because they are not involved in the project. It's a private citizen or private church selling a property. If we're putting tax dollars, not tax dollars, but fees, waiving fees, now the city's involved. Can the city share this out now? Thank you for your time, and I appreciate everything you guys do.
Thank you. Do we have any other comments in opposition?
Short this time. My name is Jennifer Chen, address 23 Santa Fe Road. Before I read my comments, I wanted to say I have been reading the environmental reports. I was an environmental scientist before I became a planner. I'm still reading them. The Phase 2 report is over 600 pages. I just got them a couple days ago. To clarify, Burgess and Neipel, who did the environmental reports and the tests, was hired by and paid by the hospital, not the EPA. Just to clarify that. So my objection is also about the process. Although I don't live adjacent to the project, I believe the actions you are taking and the way this has transpired are not in the best interest of the citizens of Middletown at large. You are usurping the role and responsibilities of the Planning Commission. From this point on, developers will know that whatever the vote of the Planning Commission, for or against, the real negotiations start afterwards, behind closed doors. They will know that the plan they put before the Planning Commission doesn't matter. It can be discarded. The Planning Commission plays a vital role. They receive training on planning and zoning principles and laws. Their focus is the orderly development of the city as a whole. They represent the citizens. By usurping this role, you remove that layer of knowledgeable protection afforded to the citizens. Also, holding hearings on zoning changes with only 5 days for people to look at and process yet another radically different layout is wrong. I didn't find any legal notice of this hearing. and these plans weren't available for 20 or 30 days for examination. I think this may not even be legal per Ohio Revised Code Section 713.12, zoning regulations, notice and hearing, but I'm not a lawyer, and that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any more comments in opposition?
Evening, Steve Lewis, 4614 Wicklow Drive. I realize the night out is going on, and I want to try and help everybody get over there. We've got a tent with park board, and I want to get there. Just a lot of repeat information from these different meetings. I would piggyback on the woman that just spoke, and that's been my biggest concern is the process that's gone on. Also to piggyback off of Mr. Michelle's comments of how quick this has to happen and the communication. Where do we go from this? It can't help you right now, I get it, but I just hope this is really thought out in the near future. I do as well feel that communication and knowledge of this project was way, way late to have this type of zoning change and not have the neighbors involved. Just really makes no sense. Not to pick on anyone in particular, but when it comes to, I have one of our 25-year-old daughters is actually looking for a house right now. She's made 13 bids and she's been outbid. 13 homes in under 3 weeks. There's housing out there. I don't want to hear about how this housing isn't around and that there aren't houses out there. There are houses out there. You have to get involved. You have to maybe fix them up. You have to work with them. You get in between, or you get into your price range and it works. But there's homes out there, and there's some real estate agents in this room, and they know exactly what I'm talking about. Whether you have the money for them or not, I don't know. $400,000 on the top of the hill in the middle of Middletown with vinyl homes, paste veneer for $400,000. If my daughter went and looked at one of those, I would immediately tell her, do not even come close to it. I myself, and have not spoken a lot about it, but as with Mr. Michelle, I'm around these homes every day, have been around them for 40 years. Have sat here and listened and been a therapist. If I could add another 30% to every bill for all the homeowners I've had to deal with because of shoddy workmanship, not saying that these are going to be shoddy, but the whole rush of this process makes me think, who's watching this? Where are we going with this? But $400,000 for these homes, it's not going to happen. It's now kind of become a little bit comical, and I'm sorry to be sarcastic about it. In regards to what we're leaving for our children in Middletown, I'll take care of that. I will take care of that. I don't need a government to help me with what's going on with my children. My children are very well off as far as what my mother and I have done. And I take a little bit of issue when it's kind of brought up like that, especially when there's a consensus out there that some of us are angry. Now, it may come across like I'm angry or some of us are, but we aren't. We're concerned. We give a damn about our neighborhood. It's that simple. It's not that hard to figure out. And when you're left out of communication and you're left out of conversations, and there's this really hurry up process, man, anybody with a brain, it triggers something in you. You got to figure out that, or you sense that something's not right. What, we went from 50 some odd homes, now we're down to 44? I didn't think we could do that. Well, that changed. I guess then where I'm at with the Vision of Middletown, I've been here for a long time, and I've done a lot of volunteer work along with a lot of people in this room. The vision is that we want to help you as a 5-member council to hear us out, hear your citizens, and look for the future. What is best? What are we leaving for them? What are these homes really going to be like in 20, 30 years from now? And I already am on them now. I'm on them that they were built back in the 80s, and they still have bed sheets for drapes, concrete that's completely destroyed, roofs that are completely wobbled because of just terrible, terrible craftsmanship. And I'm sorry. We all know that the price of housing is out of control because of material cost, freight, and just getting it done. So to sit here and say that it's going to be a $400,000 house, sorry, $280,000 at best. And I'm going to say that like that because I'm around them every day. But I do appreciate your time and thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have any other comments in opposition? Okay, seeing no movement, I will officially close the public hearing. And we will move on to the next agenda item, which is citizen comments. I'm kind of looking through to see if I can find any that I think perhaps I see only one that I think probably was related to that last one. So we'll just go through and find out if these people still want to speak or not. So we'll have 4 minutes for people. Nope.
So I have a quick ask of council. We have done it in the past during COVID, and now it's not COVID, but I received 2 emailed citizen comment requests. They are short, but it is up to council whether you want to entertain these being read aloud during citizens' comments or not.
We have said on multiple or chosen on multiple occasions not to read those emails into the record. So I think we would be going against what we've said since then. I mean, personally, I'm happy to have them forwarded to council, but we've said no multiple times since the rules were changed. So I would be inclined to say no.
Have those already been forwarded to us
They have
previously? When were they received?
I received the first one today at 11:36, and I received one today at 9:55.
I tend to agree with the mayor. We kind of have rules and we got to stick to them. And if we want to change the rules, then we vote and change the rules permanently, not just making one-off decisions.
I would encourage anyone who has a comment to share with us beforehand to send an email to all council. I personally always try to check my email right before I get here so that I'm up to date on anything that someone might have sent to me. So that would be my my.
And there is a link. Like I said, we designed a link on the website. People can just click one link and it goes to all of council. But I did want to make you aware that I received 2 emailed comments and that at least you knew that they were out there. All right, thank you.
Please do forward them though, Amy.
Yeah.
I will happily do that, yes.
Thank you. Okay, so we have 6 this evening. The first one, man, people's handwriting is fun. Dino Carrillos, I believe. I can see how that would be it. Yes, thank you. Thank you. And following, we have Jordan Wallace. So we have 4 minutes, and we'd ask you to state your name and address.
But I'd like to thank Madam Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, City Council. I'd like to thank you for your service in the police force. You hope you're feeling better today as well. Since I got 4 minutes, I'll make it quick.
Can you state your name and address for
sorry. Dino Canellis. I'm actually speaking for my father, John Canellis, who could not make it tonight because he had chemo earlier this afternoon, so he was a little run down, so he couldn't make it. So,
do you have an address to reference for the record?
Sure, 6686 English Garden Way.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm here tonight because public hearing. Just want to say the 15 acres that we had in Middletown, we've had for over 40 years. You guys have great vision. I like your vision. You're young. You're energetic. I love it. I just want to say that I've been here before. We had funeral home proposed to us a few years back. It was voted no because of traffic with the ambulance and the funeral procession. I get it, 100% get it. Second, years back, we had a hotel interested in going in that site. And once again, my father came up to Planning Commission. It was once again voted no. We did have a medical office building last year come to us to buy a couple acres. It's a Fortune 500 company. It was called Fresenius. They do kidney dialysis. Everything was going great, fine. Developer came from New Jersey, and I don't know what happened. It was at midnight, he turned it down because of due diligence. He wouldn't get into precisely what happened. That being said, I actually reached out because I was tired of, if you're in my shoes, frustrated because it's always no, no, no. So I reached out to a few brokers, 3CRE, Triff Christoforou, Michael Constantini. I reached out to Kulkarni Properties, Cherie Kulkarni. I reached out to Collier International, Dave Clement. And I reached out to Anchor Associates through Ryan Ertel. I asked them, since you guys are professionals, what do you guys project to go on this property? They said, well, first thing first, retail in Middletown is kind of slowed down. I mean, the Target across the way has left the area, and that's a big box tenant that left the city. They said Kohl's is projected to leave also, and they also said the city mall across the way, a lot of tenants have left, but you guys are proposing a sports complex, which I do endorse 100%. I think that's great that you guys are going to do something like that. I think that'll be awesome for the city. That being said, each one of them has said like nice apartments would go perfect there. I gave them the plans that the developer here sent to them. They loved it. It's a gated community. I think that'll be fantastic. I know the neighbor, Sandra, that's behind me, is for it, which is hard to get neighbors sometimes to get projects going. We reached out to the hospital as well, and they said they liked the project as well. They said that they were for it, and they were happy that we reached out to them because I think it would be a partnership with them, getting traveling nurses and traveling doctors to live there. And I think that's, and also, I think the last thing I want to say is for my father, he wanted to say that he wanted to thank all you guys and all your help. I know you guys are busy with your schedules. You guys are doing a tremendous job. And secondly, he just frustrated. He just said that he just doesn't want to see another no. If he passes away in 6 months or whatnot, he just wants to give a shout out to say, I think this project will work, and I think these guys are willing to work with you guys. So I think that's all. If you have any questions for me or anything, just let me know.
Thank you. We definitely want to wish our best of health and wishes to your father, so please pass that along.
Thank you very much. I'll do that. I'll tell him you said that.
Thank you
very much, guys. Appreciate your time.
Okay, next we have Jordan Wallace, followed by Spiros Yodas, I think.
Good evening. I'll try and be brief. Jordan Wallace, 5080 Spectrum Drive. I'm the developer on the project and potential purchaser of the land. Thank you for your time. And I appreciate your time earlier this week and also speaking with you about our project. It's wonderful sitting in this room and feeling very confident in the city that we've chosen. I've been blessed to be building in Ohio for a few years now. And whenever we look at communities to develop, we look for energy and potential to really grow. And I think from both sides, we just saw people want to see a development come in that adds a lot of value and character. I focus on communities like this. We focus on areas with medical and education growth potential, and Middletown has been a wonderful place to really look and see kind of the potential that it has. One of the things that we studied closely was the city's previous market study, which suggests that there is a significant need for a Class A multifamily project around here. We're a developer that's here to stay. we're not a merchant developer, so we put a lot of thought and time into the communities we build. I don't build urban. We don't go to Cincinnati or Columbus or any of the bigger cities because we look on building communities. And so I know there's been some discussion about the best use of this, and so I'll kind of address some of those questions and why we made some of the decisions we have. So we've carved out a 2-acre parcel. If y'all recall, I have the site plan here if you'd like to see it. But we carved out this 2-acre parcel to allow city to provide input. Since we will have control and ability over that, we think that maybe business or retail of some sort will help complement a lot of the use there. We also had some very successful comments come back from Atrium and how we could collaborate together as far as traveling nurses and being able to bring young professionals into that space. It's a wonderful development over there. All the brick and mortar that's been built, there's great businesses. One of the things that I personally studied whenever we were touring the town and trying to, to get a feel for the vibe on both sides of 75 there is that after 5 o'clock, it's kind of a ghost town over there. It's quiet. There's not really anything going. We were blessed to go across the way. We went to Applebee's where every parking lot on that entire side of 75 was full. It was just tremendous seeing how much activity is going on over there. So with that thought process, we felt like there was a need to be on that side of 75, bring a Class A apartment complex, which would attract a lot of, I would say, the individuals that were sitting here that were pro-growth, young professionals here that are looking to move into a market, but maybe not ready to buy a house. Maybe the housing market's going to change. And so we believe this site really complements a lot of the use. I think mixed use community, live here, stay here, play here is really valuable. I've been blessed to be building many of these projects across the state and also in other states. So I wanted to also open up and see if there was any, I know you had some questions about kind of the design, and I know I only have about 45 seconds. So if there's anything I can answer that you had questions about our design or how we can better accommodate, my goal here is to get a unanimous vote yes on the project with y'all's input. So
thank you. I think when the legislation item comes up, the council will be able to ask questions, and we can invite you up to answer those.
Absolutely. Just wanted to offer that up.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Eat the clock.
Nice. Okay, next we have Spiros Yotis, followed by Dave Pierce.
Yes, hello. My name is Spiros Yotis, 5010 Gareth Lane. I would like to say I'm very inspired to see all the middle-aged adults that came today in support of the youth that just graduated college. That's me. I just graduated from the University of Cincinnati, and I have been looking for a living downtown, Hyde Park. It's too expensive. I heard that this opportunity was able to come here in Middletown, and I was enthusiastic and excited that I heard that it was going to be an opportunity that was able to come. So I thought I should come here and speak. I wrote a little statement here. As I'm sure you all know, Middletown, Ohio became a city in 1886. It was a stopping ground for people passing along the Great Miami River. This was the case until Stephen Vail came and changed everything for the city. At 65 years old, Vail wanted to develop a city of new industry, of passion, and of opportunity within Middletown, Ohio. Unfortunately, he did not get to see that come to fruition as he died about 7 years after he came. With the addition of AK Steel, Hookfield Municipal Airport, and many other manufacturing industries, Middletown boomed. Back in those days, the Midwest was known as the region of manufacturing and farming. Now the Midwest has expanded to a region of business and innovation. This is shown in the way of 2 new Intel chip plants coming to the state of Ohio. Out of all other 50 states, they chose Ohio, and they said they chose Ohio because of the availability to draw premium talent from colleges and universities in the area. Ohio has many other tech companies coming to the region, so this is a perfect time to develop affordable luxury apartments for all ages, not only my age. As a senior in college ready to graduate next semester, I believe the idea that these new developers have to develop luxury apartments in the area that is lacking in this area is monumental. It is a fantastic way to redevelop a new Middletown with the same vision of those that the creators had envisioned. With the Cincinnati premium outlets only a short drive away, about 9 minutes from the potential building site of these new apartments, it would allow for more business to be generated within the area. Making this potentially new development as strictly residential ensures that there will not be any business taken away from the local favorites such as Gracie's, Taku Steakhouse, the Swire Inn. If anything, it would ensure they would get more business. Making the area residential will also allow for more apartment units to be generated compared to stores and restaurants that would make other local locations go out of business. According to countyoffice.org, between 2010 to present day, there are approximately only 187 residential buildings that were built and are occupied currently. Out of those, 19,776 buildings are occupied within the Middletown region and Butler County region in general. Only 1% of residential buildings that are currently livable have been built in the past 12 years. I was devastated to see that for this area. I'm sure you guys know that the drug problem in Middletown rose a few years back. In 2016, there wasn't much, but I only have 57 seconds, so I don't want to get too far into this. These new buildings will bring gates and security measures. With these safeguards in place at the newer apartment buildings, it will begin to eliminate this problem. This would allow for the business class of America to come in and lower the median age of Middletown, of the city in general, and will also increase the median income to above $40,300. I did a little bit of research, and unfortunately, with a substantial rise in wages and salaries over the last 5 years, the median income has barely increased. This is not just an investment for now, but investment for the future of Middletown down the line. It would allow for the Middletown schooling systems to experience a boost that they much need, and allow the city to go back to the roots of what they were founded upon: new industries, passion, and a city of opportunity. If this vote does not go through to rezone the area, it will lose the possibility of adding spectacular living spaces in such a prime location like this one. When you are weighing your vote for rezoning, please don't make the
Chris,
focus.
I'm going to have to cut you off. I hate to do it.
Could I finish?
Can I ask
with
you
my
one
last-
question? What are you studying?
So I was an information systems and marketing double major. I'm going into consulting.
Great, cool.
Could I finish
I
my
can't
last?
let you, because we have a rule, and it
it's
kills
okay.
me, but thank you so much. Go Bearcats. And after Dave, we have Peggy Trimble, which I think she's left. So after her, we have Jim Pierce, which...
Ready? Good evening,
Right.
council members and mayor. Dave Pierce, 607 Terra Oaks Drive. I feel like you're watching a horror movie, and the fact that I'm here 3 weeks in a row and you're sitting there wondering what I'm going to say, well, I'm just here to beat the clock, okay? Because I haven't been very good at that, so let's go. I want to share with you the contents of a white paper I've done and I've given to Amy to distribute to you that describes a Wi-Fi plan for Smith Park. Now, I don't think Smith Park is the only park that warrants Wi-Fi, but I used it for the 5 use cases that I developed. And we actually got to test one of our use cases at the Ohio Challenge, and I want to give you the results of that use case. We had technical default failures on 5 fronts at the Ohio Challenge because of insufficient Wi-Fi. Most of these failures occurred around 7 o'clock on Saturday night. First of all, the parking gate at the airport was unable to accept credit card transactions at 7, and up until that point, we had processed over $1,000 in payments. We lost internet access. Food and craft vendors were unable to accept cashless transactions. That's been a growing trend in the last 3 years. Personal phones did not have Wi-Fi access at the park, and if you were there trying to use it, you know what I'm talking about. We used a cell phone app to survey people entering the park rather than using pencil and paper. And the cell phone stopped working again about 7 o'clock because of the Wi-Fi, lack of Wi-Fi access. And lastly, the event was live streamed on YouTube and Twitter. We had a Wi-Fi failure there around 9 o'clock on Saturday, which precluded us from streaming parts of the balloon glow, skydive pyrotechnics jump, and the fireworks show. This failure happened despite the use of advanced technology to access satellite Wi-Fi by the production team. The event, by the way, has seen over 1,000 people tap our 2 platforms on YouTube and Twitter, which is an indication to me that live streaming is very popular in the future. The case for Wi-Fi is compelling, not just for events and activities taking place in the park, but the real power of the project is the data that's mined from people that sign on to the network and how we use that data to drive attendance at other events and how we use that data to monetize the app that would be used to offset the ongoing cost of the Wi-Fi system. In fact, for Smith Park, Start Skydiving has agreed to fund the monthly maintenance costs of the network for the first 3 years. Let me give an example on how the data could be used. Somebody goes to the soccer tournaments, one of our 2 big soccer tournaments or a lacrosse tournament, doesn't matter. They sign on to the network, okay? So we find out that they're from out of town because that's part of the data you collect. We know they have children, all right? So we just match those 2 data points together and we find out the Sorg Opera in upcoming future has a performance that's specifically designed for children. So we go out, we put together a ticket package and a restaurant package for these families. And through their app and the information we have about them, we send them a notice to say, come to Middletown, come and enjoy what we have to offer. Likely not somebody that wouldn't have known about this otherwise. So there's huge potential and opportunity here with the data. And I think Wi-Fi is a step to ensure Smith Park keeps its relevancy and value. And other communities are accelerating installing Wi-Fi in their parks. And I just think we've got to get on that board because we are experiencing a lot of pressure in our soccer tournaments with the Ohio Challenge. It's just table stakes at this point. I'd be happy to talk to you at another time after you get a chance to read the white paper. Thanks.
Thank you. Right at the buzzer.
Pretty good.
Okay. Peggy Trimble, I'm just going to say it, but I don't think she's here. Okay, Jim Pierce. Okay. All right, that concludes our citizen comments. Thank you for being willing to come up to the dais and speak and talk to council. That brings us next to our council comments. We'll start with Mr. Farrell.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have too much tonight. I do want to thank Councilman Meterspall for being here tonight. I know he had surgery earlier today, and he felt like there were a lot of votes he needed to make tonight, so appreciate you coming. I think all of us up here, along with all of you people out there and all the volunteers, we all take pride in what we do, and no matter what, we try to make it for you guys every single day. And ironically, I saw a skydiver in the air earlier today, and happened to be the mayor, which I didn't know until 5 minutes before this meeting. But we've been in this meeting for 2 hours now, and it's been nothing but just citizen comments telling us their opinions on things. And when I see the flag, it makes me think about how great it is that in this nation we can come in front of a council or in front of the government and hope that we can have our voices heard. And it's just a reminder of all the great things this, the city, the town, and the state and the government, what they can do for us. So I just thought it was kind of I had that thought coming in. So thank you, Mayor. That's it.
Ms. Ninny.
Thank you. I don't have much more to add to that. I'll echo some of Councilman Farrell's comments about all of the people who came out today. It's just always nice. I try to listen as intently as possible when both sides come up because, it's their thoughts and their vision for Middletown that guide our decision making. And so we're lucky to be able to receive that insight from our citizens in this opportunity to hear from them. So thank you for coming out, and thank you for being passionate about Middletown and about our future and the decisions that we're making. Having an engaged citizen audience is something that we're very lucky to have. So thank you to all of you for that. Also, Councilman Meterspall, thank you for being here. Zach, I ran into your mom at Lowe's earlier, and she said she was going into surgery tomorrow as well. So thinking about her, and I guess that's all I have for today. Yeah, thank you.
Of course you did.
Your mom's so sweet.
Mr. Moon.
Yes, thank you. I just have one item, and it is an announcement, an important announcement. We've been working on the community center project here for a number of months now. Zach's the other council member on it. And we have announced, and we're starting to push out, community visioning. So this is really important that we get community feedback on the community center project, what the people want it to look like, what the programming they want to have. Now that we have somewhat of a finalized number, we're going to start hosting. We're going to have 2 community visioning sessions. The first one will be at the community center on August 11th from 6:30 to 8:30. The second one will be 2 days later. It's on the weekend, August 13th at 10 a.m. at the high school. So we're trying to hit multiple locations, different times, so we can accommodate people with different work schedules, different life schedules. And I also want to stress to the youth This isn't just for the parents and the adults to show up and have a conversation. We really want the youth there as well to give us input on what they want, because it is a community center that's primarily focused upon the youth. So that's all I have.
Great. Thank you for sharing that, Mr. Muterspaw.
That's awesome, Tal. It's good news. In my brief time, I just want to talk a little bit about what just happened a little bit. First, I want to defend our city manager and our staff. Somebody made a comment about closed door sessions and that why would he go back and try to negotiate when some didn't want it? Because that's his job. His job is to come up with the best possible solution to problems. The problems were the EPA and the density. And he went back and said, this is what the problem is. That's his job. So I'm going to defend him every time. And I want to defend staff every time when they're doing their job. There's not closed door meetings. He's been very open with us about it in the community. So great job, Paul. I stand by you 100%. Another comment was made, and this isn't a knock toward the pastor of the Oaks, because he's a great guy. I had a procedure this morning, and he texted me and checked on me, which was really nice of him to do. Just a good guy. I really like the people at the Oaks. But there was a comment made about worrying about elections in the future. Anybody who knows me, I'll speak for myself, not the rest of council, knows that I'm very vocal and very direct. I'm not worried about 2026, I'm worried about 2022. I could care less about elections in 2026. So there's people in this room before they all left that I see one, my kid's favorite babysitter's husband's here when they were little. I see people I've drank whiskey with. I've seen people I've been to Vegas with. I've seen friends. I mean, so we all know each other here in Middletown. So these decisions are not taken lightly when we make these decisions. We're not thinking about elections in 2026 or whenever it is. We're thinking about what's best for Middletown as a whole. Listening to both sides is easy. Deciding what to do is hard. The comments made on both sides are great comments, and I think Councilman Farrell said it best. Just, it's an honor to sit here and listen to everybody and take your opinion, and we've all gotten a million phone calls and emails about this project. So we have our opinions on it, but there were some things said tonight that enlightened me a little bit on both sides, so it was good to hear you guys do that. But the outreach, I think Mr. Brickler spoke about that. One thing that I know we try to do as council is we try to respond to every email, text, and phone call, and I hope we're doing that the best that we can. And that's our outreach. I know a couple people we've met for coffee and talked about this project because it's important and it's near and dear to somebody's heart when it's in your own neighborhood. And one thing that I just want to say before I close is I know that we all put ourselves in your shoes when we're making decisions. I can tell you that our executive session comments with each other, the phone calls, we really do try to empathize with everybody. And if this was us, would we want this here? And that's kind of where we're at with it. So I love this council. I mean, it's better than I thought it would ever be. To be honest, when I came on, I was a little nervous, but this council's awesome. We work together as a team. We work together with staff. So whatever decision is made, I ask you to respect it and bear with us. And we're doing our best for Middletown, not ourselves. I can assure you of that. There'll be 5 new people up here in 10 years. So we got to make sure we do the right thing now. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Very well said. Well, I have an official report from Smith Park. It's packed. So that's a good thing.
Breaking news.
Breaking news. Smith Park is packed for National Night Out. You're wondering who designed this shirt. No, you're not. It was Holly, of course. It's purple. So just trying to represent for them. I did want to make an announcement about, we received something from Ohio Historic Commission about the Oakland Residential Historic District. So it is being considered by the Ohio Historic Site Preservation Advisory Board for nomination to the National Register of Historic Places. So what they wanted to announce was there's going to be a public information webinar to discuss the nomination of the Oakland Residential Historic District on August 18th. I still think that's 1 p.m., correct? I know the date was wrong on the, but August 18th at 1 p.m. So there's a website. I'm hoping maybe the city can put that out on social media or something. Paul, is that possible for the link? It's a public webinar, so
It should be. Let me check with
Yeah.
Missy, and I don't see it as a.
Anyway, I thought I'd mention it.
I'm not an IT
public
person,
and
so
in the
I'll check with her.
nature of trying to include people in on the conversation.
Okay.
See if we can get that out for everybody. So that's exciting. I think that's a positive thing, and hopefully people can participate. And again, I do also want to say thank you to everybody who's willing to come up here and put yourself out there and say something in the public venue. So thank you for our citizens. That's all I have this evening. Brings us to city manager reports.
I have nothing.
Man.
I'm ready to get to National Night Out. I promised Burke. He's holding me out.
Ms. Skink, will you please present the consent agenda for us this evening?
Certainly. Tonight, we're going to approve the City Council minutes from February the 1st, 2022, to receive and file the following Board and Commission minutes. Board of Zoning Appeals, April 6, 2022. Architectural Review Board, April 19, 2022. Civil Service Commission, June 16, 2022. Historic Commission, June 16, 2022. Confirm the following personnel appointments: Cameron Roberts and John David Scranton to position of Patrol Officer in the Department of Public Safety, Division of Police, and to receive and file an oath of office for Janet Banks.
Move to approve the items listed in the consent agenda.
Second.
Ms. Skink, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Nenny?
Yes.
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
Mr. Meterspaw?
Yes.
Mayor Condrey?
Yes.
Mr. Farrell?
Yes.
On the motion agenda to approve the purchase of highway rock salt from Compass Minerals America Incorporated of Overland Park, Kansas, in the amount of $93.33 per ton for the approximate usage of 4,500 tons over the 2022-2023 winter season.
So moved for adoption.
Second.
Ms. Skink, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
Mr. Meterspaw?
Yes.
Mayor Condrey?
Yes.
Ms. Nenny?
Yes.
Mr. Farrell?
Yes.
To enter into a contract to purchase a new Sutphen pumper off the ODS contract in the amount of $665,049.46 from Sutphen Corporation of Dublin, Ohio. The current construction time is 30 months, so delivery is expected by the end of 2024 if ordered now. The price will be locked in at the 2022 rate, but the payment will not be due until delivery in 2024.
So moved for adoption.
Second.
Ms. Skink, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Meterspaw?
Yes.
Mayor Condrey?
Yes.
Mr. Farrell?
Yes.
Ms. Nenny?
Yes.
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
Brings us to legislation.
Right. I think we have only one item tonight that's being posed as a passage as an emergency and waiving the two readings. So I'd invite a motion from someone on council to waive the charter provisions with respect to two readings and emergency legislation for item number 3.
I'll move to waive the charter provision requiring reading on 2 separate days and to declare ordinance number O-2022-67 as an emergency measure and read one time only.
Second.
Ms. Skink, will you please call the roll?
Mayor Condrey?
Yes.
Mr. Farrell?
Yes.
Ms. Nenny?
Yes.
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
Mr. Meterspaw?
Yes.
Item number 1 this evening is ordinance number O-2022-66, an ordinance changing the zoning classification for 2 parcels on Market Avenue, known as Warren County parcel numbers 070-327-6017 and 070-327-6018 from BCH Business Center Hub Subdistrict to PD Plan Development District and approving preliminary development plan. This is a second reading.
So moved for adoption.
Second.
I don't have anything to add. This is the Atticus development at Union Road and Market.
I was wondering if the developer or someone involved might be able to answer a question about how they plan to make it as pedestrian as possible. I know there was a reference to like walkability, and then we kind of had a discussion about connecting to Atrium's paths, although I kind of looked at how that would really only be done maybe at the intersection, or if they had another thought on just walkability there.
Absolutely. We've had some conversations. We're just waiting on comments back from Atrium right now. I think our goal is to work with staff to find a feasible way to create kind of a bike path and continue the path right there along Union that the hospital utilizes now. May be able to achieve that by using the crosswalk there to be able to continue across the streets somewhere safely, obviously.
Okay, great. Yeah, I would be a big fan of that. I think, if there were people who were working at Atrium or even just for fitness and that obviously they could still get to the Y from there. And I think there's a lot of benefit to that would draw people
Absolutely. We're going to incorporate bike racks on our property. A lot of the promotion of walking is common these days. It's good for mental health and a lot of other things. Also, walking pets is, pets are family these days. So that's also the consideration also for the first floor units and the dog yards that we're incorporating.
Before you go back, Jordan, just wanted to thank you for not only reaching out to discuss this last week, but I think you flew up from Texas.
Yes, sir, I did.
So, kudos to you for putting in the work. Appreciate you being here. I think we talked about it on the phone. If we didn't, I want to remind myself here. Is what I struggle with is what we talked about on the phone as far as the commercial use kind of being the lead foot in our master plan. Would there be any consideration to growing that 2 acres, or are you kind of at a hard stop with the 2 acres for the commercial development?
So a lot of the ways that we come up with our business modeling is on the size of units and efficiencies. 240 is really the smallest and the lowest that we'll go. We get a lot of base and economics off that from construction costs. The difference in going and shopping at Costco versus your local store, right? And so one of the things we're actually speaking with one of the landowners currently about property on that abuts the property for alternatives there. So we could also revisit that for commercial use.
How many acres would that be?
I'm in the process of figuring that out. If I would turn around and look at them and ask, but it might be inappropriate given kind of where we're at on this process. So
okay.
I had a question about building materials. Is that even included in this discussion, or what are the plans for that?
I believe a lot of that will be finalized whenever we go through staff review. But like I mentioned, we're here to stay. So a lot of the input that we'll make sure is clear on our drawings is that we're going to use sustainable materials. We're going to use better flooring materials. We're going to use granite countertops. One of the unique things that we believe makes this a Class A product is we actually go with a 10-foot ceiling height, where a lot of traditional apartment complexes you've seen are still at 8 foot or 9 foot. So we go the extra mile. I believe those are expenses that gain a lot of interest as far as people wanting to live in those spaces.
And have you thought about the external materials being used?
So I'm not an architect, so I don't truly get to choose the colors and the mix and matches of stone and facade and siding. But I think those will be some stuff that we'll probably work with staff to accommodate. Those are reasonable measures. We aren't doing sticky stone, in case that's a concern of yours.
I guess one of my questions was: is it going to have a bunch of vinyl siding?
No, we won't have any vinyl siding, actually.
That fly has been pestering everyone up there all.
He's not here anymore, and I was thinking, man, it'd be bad to be that guy. Unfortunately, I'm now that guy. So everybody's left.
Reminds me of that Mike Pence fly.
I know, right? Don't make a meme about me after this.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions? I think it has, I really thought about this a lot after the last meeting. I read a lot of emails from citizens, which I'm grateful. And I think it does have the ability to complement the area and fill a need and also attract a certain demographic that I think we need as far as workforce. And so I'm supportive of it, and I think I'm excited. And
I think not a question for you, but just some research I've been doing lately, which obviously we'd love to have this place to have jobs there. But as my grandpa always says, millennials and the younger generation are changing the world. They want things the way they want them, right? So flexjobs.com just posted a poll that 58% of people under 40 years old, they want to be full-time remote employees post-pandemic. 35% of people in general want to work from home. Something that people forget is if you're working from home, that tax base stays with the city of Middletown. So although they may not be working at a place in Middletown, if they're working from home, we keep that tax base. If you run 240 units times 2.2 people living in each unit, the national average is 2.35, so let's just go low. It means you're going to have 528 people living in this complex, theoretically. So I can run you through 36% of people living in this place are going to be starting out single adults, and I can run you through all the numbers. What all this means is after you cancel out the 75 people that are too young or they're going to be retired boomers, if you have people on average making $59,000 a year, which I feel like would be a sustainable number to live in a higher end apartment complex like this, you're going to have a take home just off the people that are working from home. You would have a tax base of $128,290 coming in. And that's just for the people, the 25% of people right now, which theoretically would go up over time, that are going to be working from there. That doesn't count the other income tax we would keep off of everything. Theoretically, if you do the numbers, it would be over a $200,000 incentive. That's enough to hire 2 full-time police officers. And yes, we can sit around, in my opinion, we can sit around and hope that another project comes here, or we can fix the problems we have today. We can hire 2 full-time police officers just on this alone. So are we going to sit around and wait for 40 more years to do this, or are we going to start fixing the gaps that we have today and going towards the future? I'm not willing to sacrifice the future for the problems we have today. I'm ready to fix these problems. That's why I ran, and that's why my vote will be what it will be.
Any other comments or questions from council?
I would just say I've gone back and forth on this. I take a little different view than Mr. Farrell. I don't want to just make a decision for right now. I want to make a decision that is the right decision for the next 20 or 30 years because this is really Middletown's pretty much built out, right? Like this is the last developable land in town. This is a great product, Jordan. I really like it. And that's been the struggle, is it is nice and it is something we don't have, but we just approved a master plan a couple months ago that says the primary use of this land should be job producing. So that's been my rub all along, and it's been my struggle, and I've gone back and forth. And so just sharing with you and with the public what my thought process has been over these last 2 weeks.
Absolutely. If I could just add a few comments to that. You had a great point about people working from home in different scenarios. Unintentionally, we actually designed units on some of our projects back in 2018 to incorporate workstations within the units. We just got lucky in an unlucky business environment. We were one of the few people that did these in these sub-markets, and people actually enjoyed working from home. So we were actually retaining more scenarios where people could work from home. Our unit mixes are 1 and 2 bedroom predominantly. So unlike me, who has 3 children, you can actually get some work done at home. And so a lot of the things that we're considering too is I know this wouldn't add 50 to 100 jobs in one area. But one thing that it will do is it'll add landscapers in that area. It'll add marketing groups to help promote the area. It'll create more interest with businesses that want to come in that actually feed off of walkability, right? Restaurants that can say, wow, I have 500 plus people right next door. They can come next door and get a burger or get a beer, whatever they want, right? And so those are some of the complements whenever I'm studying these areas and how the ecosystems build out. And so while we may not directly create a significant amount of jobs, we'll indirectly create a lot more interest with businesses that are going to be attracted through this area to create some diversity in the business there. So hope that helps.
And Mr. Mayor, I definitely sympathize with your thought process. Absolutely. I've been through that a lot of times. And my thinking is we do have opportunities still to fulfill that mission. And hopefully this can be one of the linchpins for the residential aspect of that area. And that's where my mind has gone with it. And I'm going to throw my pen at you. So. Do we have any other comments or questions from council? Okay, we're ready to vote. Okay, Ms. Skank, will you please call?
Mr. Farrell?
Yes.
Ms. Nenny?
Yes.
Mr. Moon?
No.
Mr. Muterspaw?
Yes.
Mayor Condrey?
Yes.
Item 2 this evening is ordinance number O 2022-65, An ordinance changing the zoning classification for a portion of a parcel located at 5013 Lefferson Road from R3 Medium Density Residential District to B2 Community Business District. This is the second reading.
So move for adoption.
Second.
This was the auto gas station at Lefferson and Old 25 that was discussed in the hearing at last meeting. I have nothing more to add on it.
Any comments or questions from council? I feel like I had my questions answered at the last meeting and a good discussion. Okay, Ms. Gang, could you please call the roll?
Ms. Nenny.
Yes.
Mr. Moon.
Yes.
Mr. Muederspaw.
Yes.
Mayor Condrey.
Yes.
Mr. Farrell.
Yes.
All right, item 3 is ordinance number O-2022-67, an ordinance establishing a procedure for and authorizing the continuation of the airport grounds maintenance contract with Schulte Business Services on a month-to-month basis through November 30, 2022, and declaring an emergency.
So move for adoption.
Second.
I'm going to defer to Nathan to discuss this as he's been working with the airport.
Yeah, actually, this is an administrative error. This was all slated to be on your agenda for June 7th, and it was discovered that the other day, as we were preparing for budget, that this didn't actually make it onto your agenda for the 7th, so that's why the emergency measure is being asked, but this will allow us to continue that contract with Schulte Business Services through the end of the mowing season.
Ethan, can I say that you saying that there was an error and it was supposed to be on the agenda, do you know how much that means actually to me to just hear that you say that and then, you know what? Stuff like that happens and I get it.
I was just sitting at my desk the other day and I'm like, I know I wrote the staff report, what happened? And, so.
Anyway, I just I appreciate that. And to me, it gains a lot of, I can see integrity and it gains trust in relationships. So for what that's.
He'll be in my office the first thing in the morning.
That's what a leader does, though. It's accountability. That's what we've lacked for years, right? I mean,
good cop, bad cop on that one. Does anyone have any comments or questions? Okay, Ms. Ganku, please call the roll.
Mr. Moon.
Yes.
Mr. Muederspaw.
yes.
Mayor Condrey.
Yes.
Ms. Nenny.
Yes.
Mr. Farrell.
Yes.
Item 4 this evening is ordinance number O-2022-68, an ordinance establishing a procedure for and authorizing an amendment to a contract with Aclara Technologies, LLC, for the purchase of software and replacement equipment for the automated meter reading system and declaring an emergency. There's no action requested until August 16, 2022.
Yeah, Council, this is a tough one. This is one of those situations where due to the supply chain and due to inflation, we're kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. The situation is these meters that we voted on a month or so ago have increased in cost. The company is having a difficult time getting the supplies to put the meters together, and therefore they have a significant cost increase that they're having trouble meeting the demands of the contract. What they've come to us and told us is that each meter has an increased cost of about $12 per meter, and the number of our meters makes that cost going to round out to an additional $171,000. That contract actually goes until December of 2023. However, our problem is they can't deliver us the meters at the original price. They're a sole provider. This is actually a hard pill to swallow, but it's a situation where we have a lot of meters in a lot of residences across the city that meters are not functioning properly, and therefore we need to get those meters replaced as soon as we can over the next 2 years so we can get accurate pricing for our water supply. And we'll be happy to answer questions you have on this. Scott Tadish is here. We don't have a lot of alternatives on this. We can go back to the company and say no. And they're saying, you know, we can't meet the increase in cost to manufacture them for you.
Do we know approximately how much money we lose in faulty meter readings in a given period of time? I mean, just if
Yeah,
that's
I'm
not-
going to
if that's
defer
not a
to Public
statistic
Works
we
on
know,
that.
You know, just to put that.
A little bit of a discussion with Nikita this afternoon on, she feels it is significant, but she was going to work on the numbers for us, and I don't know if you guys were able to come up
I
with.
mean, I don't know that it's more of an issue of not having accurate readings produces inaccurate bills. So you could have a case where a bill's estimated for several months for a certain resident. It may, you know, finance has a way that they go back and look over a 12-month period on ways to estimate it. But if they're not right on, there could be a big difference when we actually get a true reading 6 months down the road that could be, you know, a real strain on a resident if we all of a sudden tell them, you know, you've had a bill that's maybe $50 for 6 months, and then we turn around and
all of a sudden they get an $1,800 bill.
well, yeah, something,
you know.
something in that.
So it goes both
But-
ways in terms
Yes,
of the
yes,
estimate,
potentially,
in terms of the
potentially.
estimated payments when they're.
But now, since we gone to the automated meter reading system back in, this was in 2004 or 5, I think, our meter readings become significantly more accurate over that time. We were way under estimating bills prior to having these automated meter reading systems.
So we're talking about replacing ones that were already automated, though, right?
Yes, that's correct.
That are now faulty.
Right, that they're this was all done in 2000, originally started in 2005. Over a 2-year period, the city put in all new meter reading units in all the houses throughout town, and now they're sort of getting to their end of life. And that's why we're having to replace them in bulk now.
Because they went in bulk almost 20 years ago.
Yes, that's correct.
I was looking up Ohio consumer laws because I was like, really? There's no ramification for a contract? Like, where, you know, the consumer is the one that's eating it left and right. And by the consumer, in this case, I feel like the city just left and right everywhere. And I can't find anything. But I would love if our lawyers were able to, you know, help us find some clause in contracts moving forward that we're at least we're sharing these. If a company is not budgeting for a possible price change, well, that's bad business on their part, and we shouldn't be the ones eating it all the time. So anyway, if there's anything you guys find or somebody's using it, this is probably a shift, I think, that no one's seen in a very long time, if ever, where the consumers are just, like, companies aren't abiding by contracts and able to fulfill them at what they're
There's
saying.
nothing we can do.
No, and it feels...
It's crazy. It's every day with everything anymore.
I know. And the problem is you can underbid a contract, get it, and then change it. And that's my concern, is there's no way to prevent that right now. And now we're however long down a path, and we can't go back and rebid because we're too far down the path. So it invites, what's the word?
Lack of accountability?
Yeah. Anyway, I'm not saying that that's the case here, that they're trying to deceive us intentionally, but it opens the door for it, and I don't like that.
Not to belabor a long point, but every time we get into these discussions about prices increasing, I think about our paving and the paving levy and how fortunate we were to get that passed at that time. I mean, I don't know how much we'd be up right now.
Yeah. Now, just so you know, there isn't a asphalt price adjustment built into that contract. So, but yeah, that was definitely great to get in.
We've been doing that now.
Oh yeah.
We've
Oh
been
yeah.
doing so many lessons.
Especially with the interest rates they are now too. So
not to just
Yeah,
throw
no,
some
that's a good
sunshine
point.
on, but I always think about that when we get into these situations.
Take with the good with the bad sometimes. So.
Good thing we didn't pass a fire levy around that.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, go ahead.
Item 5 is ordinance number O-2022-69, an ordinance amending the pay and benefits ordinance, ordinance number O-2021-105, and declaring an emergency. There's no action requested until August 16, 2022.
Council, over the next couple meetings, you will receive several pieces of legislation that request a pay increase for all city employees below the city manager's position. Tonight, in legislation number 5 and number 6, affects all non-union employees and those, essentially those hired prior to 2018 and then those hired after 2018, because there's 2 separate pay ordinances for such. Over the past 2 years, we've lost approximately 74 employees, some due to retirements, but many of those to cities that are offering higher pays for those positions. Essentially, we have to stop the hemorrhaging. We are losing employees at alarming levels, especially in the public safety and public works areas. And upon exit interviews, we're hearing employees say that the primary reason for leaving is not just for $2,000 or $3,000 a year, but for $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, even $20,000 a year in comparable positions. For most employees, this pay increase that we're asking will amount to approximately $3,000 per year, some a little bit more the higher up you go in positions. Due to the collective bargaining laws, we must utilize the collective bargaining process, and we are currently doing so and will do so in the coming weeks, and then bring the legislation to you asking for the 5% pay raise for our police, for our fire, and then we're currently in negotiations with AFSCME and soon to start negotiations with our other dispatch, corrections, and other union. We're struggling with recruiting and retention, and part of it is we're struggling where we used to get a couple hundred people applying for a lot of the positions in police, fire, and even public works, where we're lucky to get 15, 20 people to apply for the positions, and a lot of them are saying, I'm not going to waste my time where I can go to this community over here where I'm going to be making at least $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 more. So as I stated, we've got a situation here where over the last couple of years we are in a better financial position to be able to compete a little bit more with area communities. We know that this 5% pay raise in most areas won't get us comparable to a lot of what communities are paying, especially their police, fire, public works, and non-union city employees. However, we are beginning the salary study, and we think when that is finalized in early 2023, we'll be able to make some necessary adjustments where this 5% pay increase might still fall short. And I answer any questions you might have.
Would this also be applicable for the positions that were increased at the end of last year, I believe it was? Like our Director of Public Works and Economic Development Director received significant pay increases.
Yes, it will. And the problem with that is when we do, especially the pay ordinance, we couldn't, because all the pay ordinance levels will be increased, it would be difficult to knock a position out of its particular line item. Now, what we will find is that when we do the salary study, we may be able to make some adjustments to get those back in line. Okay. And I hope I answered that pretty good. They prepped me good on that one because that was actually a question I had.
The question I have is, I know as we review the financial report over the last, you look at the last decade, really the last 2 years, is when things have really started to grow somewhat unexpectedly. I guess I want to make sure that we've really dug into those numbers, because I know there's been times over the last 8 years where we'll have a big employer that was taking losses, and all of a sudden they'll have a huge check that comes in. $2 million is one occasion I'm thinking of. Have we really dug in to make sure these revenues?
We've dug in, and this sits with the city's financial plan. I will say this, where that is concerned, the past administration and the surpluses we were seeing last year and this year, their big plan was to spend the entire surplus in capital improvements. And I kind of at that time, and my opinion is of today, that's great. We need to continue most of that, but we got to take care of our human resources first.
But staff has dug into it enough that
Yes.
they don't feel this was a 1 or 2 year type of increase. This is going to be what we can expect for the next many years.
I'm not sure I understand what you mean by that. Do you mean?
I see Nathan nodding. Well, over the past year, I'm thinking of one specific occasion. I don't know who the employer was, but Jake Burton responded to me when I asked, well, why did tax revenues increase $2 million?
Okay, I see. Okay.
And he said it was a one-time hit. We may have to refund it. I want to make sure that's not the situation, that we're not accounting for revenues that may not be there in a year.
I will say this: we might see some of that, mainly because of where the economy's going. But I also say with the future we see for expansion and what we have the opportunity, staff is really going to have to get out there and work to assure that we can continue these types of financial remuneration for our staff. But the answer to your question is it does stick within the financial plan and what we're seeing.
Great. I know our guys and gals are underpaid. Just wanted to make sure that we were on firm footing there. So thank you for that.
And Nathan, if you have anything to add on that, please feel free to.
I think just to echo Mr. Lawley's points, and Samantha, our finance director's in the wings as well. I think what we've projected with our financial planning, our forecasting and the like, is that we do conservatively look at our expenditures and our revenues, and that if we see something that's a little bit out of the standard deviation of what we expect, we are not counting on that in future subsequent years. So what we've established in the financial plan is one that is, we expect that there may be minor, I won't say minor, substantive ups and downs at times, because we are a community we have several large employers. And so we do have some fluctuation in that, but the core of our income tax collection, which is the majority of our general fund revenue, is off employee withholding and individual filers. That is the bulk of it. And so that corpus of our revenue stream is what we really pay attention to. And if we have really great years on the corporate net profits side of life, great, but it's not being banked on.
Great. Well, Paul and Nathan and Sam, I'm really proud of you guys, because I know this is something we've all wanted to get done for a while. And it's, I think when we renegotiated the deal with FOP, one of the things I said was it's a step in the right direction, and this feels like we're getting to where we need to be. So appreciate you guys taking that on as all of you moved in the new roles. I really appreciate that.
I think to that end, we've talked a lot for years about how underpaid our staff is and how understaffed we are, and we haven't been able to do anything about it. So it's nice to see something being done about it.
Yeah, we've had these conversations. We owe these employees this. They're entitled to this, because 5% still doesn't put them where they need to be, but it's a great thing, and it should increase morale. I liken back to the fact that we had 600 something employees here years ago. We have 300 something now, and their pay has not increased dramatically. If this was we've lost 77 employees, I think is what the total is in the last few years. Some retirements, like you said, others. I know there's several police officers and firemen that have applied other places the last few weeks. I know you guys are aware of that because of pay. We're just training other people's employees, which is a horrible business model. If this was a private business, we would have closed down.
It used to be opposite, the other way around.
Yeah. So we're training everybody else's employees. And I can tell you, talk to a police chief in Butler County that's recruiting 2 of our police officers to get them over there. And they pay about $12,000 more a year to start. So this is a step in the right direction. I'm happy about it. I'm excited. I just wish we could give them 10%. I know we can't, but 5's great, and I think they deserve it.
Paul, can you tell me how many firemen have left in the last 2 years?
Approximately 17.
What's the cost?
Some of those might have been through retirement, a couple. Okay. I know one last week. And by the way, earlier when you said that would pay for 2 policemen, you meant firemen.
No, we didn't.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, we'll get there.
One of each.
Yeah. So what would you say is the cost of training a fireman and getting them up to par, and if they were to leave? What's the cost of it?
Well, to train a firefighter to the firefighter EMT level, you're looking at nearly $20,000 from the start. Now, we have a process where you have to be a firefighter EMT to get hired. But by the time we do all the recruiting, by the time we purchase all the gear, by the time we do all the training, and you're talking about man hours, you're talking about at least $30,000 would be conservative. I don't know if Tom and Jamie have a...
Well, it's not only that amount, it's the amount of money that our officers are spending training those people. They
Right.
could be doing other things. And not only are they doing that, but then those people leave, so you've done that for nothing.
Right. Paul's talking about just straight up financials, but then there's the cost of
The intrinsic cost.
Oh, and then there's the man hours, like I said, to
Right,
do the
so
training and...
From what I looked, it was for a fireman $80,000 to $100,000, and for a police is $100,000 is the cost of what it to bring them on and train them and get them ready and have them out on their own. By the time you factor in on police, you have to ride along. Is it 6 months?
6 months to a year.
So exactly. So
Yeah.
if let's say half these firemen left because of pay. I mean, that's $1 million out the door. And same thing with police.
And then the overtime, our overtime in fire is well, I guess I shouldn't say ours, theirs.
Still ours.
When I was the
Still ours.
chief.
Still your city.
You know, and then the overtime cost over the last 2 years is, it's high. I mean, just over last year, we were $200 and some thousand over budget because of overtime. And that was because we couldn't get these positions filled. A city south of us, that's kind of about our same size, they're going to hiring people off the streets. In other words, you come in and we'll send you to be trained from the very beginning, what we used to do. And once they complete it, they're $10,000 high, being paid $10,000 higher than our entry-level firefighter EMTs.
Well,
and that's hurting us bad.
Yeah, well, and at what point when you're working these people forced overtime is liability becoming an issue for a city?
And that's an issue with the police department. A lot of their personnel are being forced to overtime, and a lot of that is
because they don't have anybody. Because they can't retain.
It's hard enough to recruit when you're paying these people top dollar. It's even harder when we're in the situation we are.
Mm-hmm.
On a lighter note, seeing the mounted patrol was really exciting. And again, something that an employee volunteered
Yes.
their time and their animal and,
And all the gear and all the
the
equipment.
donated gear and everything else. I mean, and those are the kind of things that our employees are doing for us. What's the least we can do for them?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I thought that was really wonderful.
Yep.
I think it's awesome.
I think it's a step in the right direction. That's all I have.
Thank you.
All right. The next legislation item I probably should have read with the last one. Ordinance number O-2022-70, an ordinance amending the pay and benefits ordinance number O-2021-106, and declaring an emergency. No action requested until August 16, 2022.
I assume we don't have anything to add on this.
I don't have anything to add.
All right. Item number 7, resolution number R 2022-31, a resolution establishing the One Ohio Opioid Settlement Fund and declaring an emergency. No action requested until August 16, 2022.
Okay, Council, this is the One Ohio Opioid Settlement Fund, which Middletown has received $50,000 from the state of Ohio in their $808 million settlement with the 3 largest corporate distributor of opioids. So this legislation will be establishing the fund that we will put the money in to eventually utilize such fund, and we will sit down with the fire, police, courts, the health department, with council input, decide where would we best utilize these opioid funds.
This is one of 18 years, right? This is an annual
Yes.
allotment over 18 years.
Yes.
Because 50 grand seems like a
Yeah.
A drop compared to what?
yes,
Exactly. What it did to us.
Just wanted to encourage you to maybe expand that group a little bit, and maybe there's no fruit in it, maybe there is. That should there be maybe some more collaboration regionally? You know, I'm thinking about some of these drop-in centers that the county has proposed. Like, should there be pooling of resources to maybe deal with it? Or
There was some talk with that with the One Ohio, and
There's already, so that's the Region 14 money, which is far greater than what we're getting as a city. It's meant for that regional collaboration. So these probably should stick in our city itself.
yeah.
Yep, forgot about that other pot.
Yep.
Yep.
Thank you.
Good point. Anything else on One Ohio?
That's all I have.
I think the last one that was on the agenda was removed for tonight.
It was scratched out in my binders.
Okay, it was scratched out. It's officially scratched. Okay, so we have any new business items that anyone wants to? All right, well, with that, we will adjourn until, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's August right now. Okay, so August 16th, 5:30 p.m. here in Council Chambers. Until then, blue skies over Middletown.